a lot of luck to Harry, because he's going to need it.
But what I saw tonight was somebody who was totally unself-aware. I mean, completely unaware of how she sounded.
No, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know.
We're gonna have to talk about the Kris Jenner party too.
Okay, well, I want to know your thoughts on Meghan and Harry not only being there, but then asking for the photos of them to be deleted.
Because they don't want people to feel that they're hobnobbing with the Kardashians. Like,
right, but so don't go.
It's strange to me because it's like, you have that life and you chose to move to LA.
All very distasteful, Piers. I was totally bored by the whining.
For trying to trash the royal family's reputation and dragging them below even what the Kardashians
her, and credit to her, she found someone that is dumber than her. And that's the truth, is that Harry's just not a very smart person. And if there's one thing that this book definitely is not, it's a good advertisement for Eton, right? I mean, if I'm thinking about whether or not I want to send my son Eton, I'm telling you, time to socially climb. And for her, Harry was just an entry ticket into all of those circles. Unfortunately, she found someone. She's not very intelligent. She's not very talented. Nobody in America was watching Suits. She was an actress that was living in Canada. And
welcome back to the channel. Today, we're getting into the celebrity names that have publicly taken shots at Meghan Markle. Whether it was a clear dig, a blunt opinion, or one of those awkward moments that had people instantly talking. Some of these names may surprise you, and some absolutely won't. Kelly Rowland might seem like a random place to start, but her name got pulled into the Meghan conversation after what looked like an innocent mix-up that still caused a stir. In an interview with Hello magazine in October 2023, Kelly spoke warmly about meeting Meghan at Beyoncé's Renaissance tour in Los Angeles on September 4th. She described Meghan as cool, down-to-earth, and warm, and on the surface it sounded sweet enough. But then came the twist. People quickly pointed out that Kelly and Meghan appeared to have met years earlier, back in 2014, based on an old post from Meghan's former lifestyle blog.
Nobody set out to destroy you. You destroyed yourselves in this country with your ludicrous, hypocritical behaviour.
The Tig, showing them together during New York Fashion Week. That discovery made Kelly's first meeting story look a little shaky, even if it was probably just an honest memory slip. Still, the internet noticed, and once the internet notices something, it does not let go. Even with that awkward detail hanging in the air, Kelly kept speaking positively about Meghan and even said she had a regal energy long before she ever entered royal life. So this one felt less like a direct attack and more like accidental shade that people ran wild with online. But in Meghan's world, even a small mismatch can turn into a whole headline fast. Then there's Piers Morgan, and this one is no accident at all. He has easily been one of Meghan's fiercest public critics for years, and he has never tried to hide it. From columns to TV appearances, Piers has gone after Meghan again and again, arguing that she gets special treatment while still throwing accusations at the royal family without enough pushback. One of his harshest attacks came after Meghan's appearance on the Ellen DeGeneres show, which he blasted as vomit-inducing in his newspaper column. That reaction said everything about where he stood. Piers argued that Meghan continues to benefit from her royal title, build her celebrity profile, and make money from that status, all while no longer doing royal duties. In his view, that is the double standard that keeps making him furious.
Because I had to leave my show, Good Morning Britain, you may remember, for casting doubt over the allegations of racism and the denial of treatment for mental health issues that Meghan Markle said she was denied by Buckingham Palace. Interestingly, in his 420-page or so book, his own story.
Critics who agree with Piers say Meghan has turned every appearance into brand building and keeps using global attention to strengthen her image. Supporters, of course, see it very differently, which is why the public fight around her never really cools off. The debate stays hot, the headlines keep rolling, and people are still split right down the middle. Sharon Osbourne has also made her feelings loud and clear, and she has done it more than once. Much like her longtime ally Piers Morgan, Sharon has repeatedly shown little patience for Meghan's public version of events. On Piers Morgan Uncensored, she went in hard on the Harry and Meghan Netflix series and accused Meghan of always presenting herself as the victim. Sharon also mocked Meghan's story about having to curtsy to Queen Elizabeth, especially Meghan's comparison of Buckingham Palace to a cheesy medieval dinner show. That comment really rubbed Sharon the wrong way, and she made sure everyone knew it. Then in spring 2024, she doubled down again on Celebrity Big Brother, saying she believed many people were simply fed up with what they saw as constant complaining from the Sussexes. Lord Alan Sugar added even more heat when he weighed in on Meghan's past comments about mental health, and his remarks sparked serious backlash. Speaking on GB News, he questioned how Meghan's account lined up with the level of privacy and medical access available inside royal residences. His basic argument was that discreet care would have been available and handled quietly, which is why he said he found parts of the story hard to believe. That said, this topic deserves care. Full stop. Mental health struggles are real, deeply personal.
I can't imagine having so much at your fingertips and letting it all slip away, thinking every single thing that you do and say and want is so fascinating that you should be accepting awards at podiums. You're not, Mahatma Gandhi.
And should never be mocked or brushed aside for clicks or cheap shots. Whatever anyone thinks of Meghan, support matters, compassion matters, and nobody dealing with that kind of pain should ever be left feeling isolated or ignored. Bethany Frankel jumped into the drama too, and as usual, she did it in the most blunt way possible. After Meghan and Harry's Oprah interview lit up social media, Bethany responded to people defending Meghan with a cold, sharp message that instantly got attention. Her now widely repeated "Cry me a river" reaction summed up exactly how little sympathy she had for Meghan's complaints. Bethany's point was that Meghan went from game show model and lesser-known actress to palace life, global fame, a lavish wedding, and worldwide attention in a very short time. To Bethany, that made the victim narrative harder to buy. Critics on that side of the argument say Meghan's media moves have never really looked like someone trying to disappear. They say the pattern looks more like someone protecting relevance, status, and star power than someone truly stepping away from the spotlight. That is what made Bethany's comments hit so hard. She appeared to suggest that privacy was not always the main goal, and that public visibility still mattered a lot. Fair or unfair, that opinion spread fast online because it tapped into a bigger frustration many critics already had about Meghan's image and the way she manages attention. Then there's Elton John, and this situation feels way more personal than a simple celebrity opinion. Elton was not just any famous friend in Harry's orbit. He had a deep connection to Princess Diana and was once seen as someone close to Harry himself. So when cracks started showing there, people paid attention right away.
They left, they wanted privacy, but we can't define what that means. They also needed money. I think they underestimated how much they would be on their own, and they've made a lot of money, and they have a lot of money. And I think when the frustration comes in, it's just like, please let me advise you. Please, I would do anything to just advise her.
In Spare, Harry described a falling out with Elton during a stay in France before he and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. Harry linked the tension to Elton's memoir being serialised in the Daily Mail, but plenty of gossip around the story suggested the problem may have gone deeper than that. Whatever the full truth is, Harry's own account made it clear that the bond had become strained and that Shift shocked a lot of people because of Elton's long history with Diana. Rumours have swirled around that trip for a while, including talk that awkward comments may have been made behind closed doors after Harry and Meghan used Elton's private jet. Those claims remain in rumour territory, but they helped fuel the idea that the relationship cooled badly. One way or another, what once looked like a strong connection suddenly did not seem so solid anymore. Donald Trump was also very direct about Meghan, and there was nothing subtle about it. He publicly called her disrespectful to Queen Elizabeth II and repeatedly said he was never a fan of hers from the beginning. He also claimed Harry was being badly used and warned that the prince would regret how things played out. Trump went even further by saying Harry damaged his relationship with his family and caused pain to the late Queen. He also criticized Meghan for speaking out on political issues in the United States, especially after she urged members of Congress to support paid leave funding. Trump framed that as inappropriate, and his remarks made it crystal clear that he saw Meghan as someone stepping far outside the role he thought she should have stayed in. And then came Sheryl Crow, who slipped in a jab that definitely got people talking. While being honoured by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she made a pointed remark before performing Soak Up the Sun, saying the song was for Meghan Markle, who was soaking up the sun in California while everybody else was freezing in New York City. That line landed like a slick little swipe, and people caught it immediately. What made it sting more was that Sheryl suggested she had once admired Meghan. She seemed to view Meghan as strong, independent, and someone who stood by what she claimed to believe in. That is why the remark hit with extra weight. When criticism comes from someone who once appeared supportive, it always feels messier, sharper, and way more revealing. Then things got even sharper with ET Canada host Keshia Shante, who has never exactly tiptoed around Harry and Meghan. Back in May 2021, she took aim at Harry after his comments about the First Amendment being bonkers. And she did not hide her irritation. Her point was blunt and simple. If Harry truly wanted privacy, Los Angeles was one of the last places he should be looking for it. To her, that argument just did not add up. Keshia also admitted that one thing Meghan does in interviews has always rubbed her the wrong way. Talking about one of Harry and Meghan's joint appearances, she said what weirded her out most was the way Meghan kept staring at Harry while he was speaking. She even joked about it, wondering what Meghan was looking at and whether everyone else was supposed to see it too. It was one of those comments that sounded half playful, half shady, but people definitely caught the edge in it. Aaron Foster also joined the pile-on, and his style was more mockery than diplomacy. The comedy writer and performer has a history of going after public figures online, and Meghan was one of his targets. Back in November 2017, he posted an old photo of Meghan from her Deal or No Deal days and captioned it, "Never forget." Then he followed that with another image of Meghan holding a briefcase, this time joking that it was filled with "my plans to be famous." That post was clearly meant to sting, and it landed exactly like that. The message behind those posts was obvious. Aaron was pushing the idea that Meghan had always been chasing fame and status, long before royal life ever entered the picture. Whether people agreed or not, the tone was loud, smug, and impossible to miss. It was the kind of jab designed to reduce a whole career into one snarky internet punchline. Meghan Kelly was just as blunt, and maybe even colder. When reacting to Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview, she made it clear she had no sympathy for them at all. She took to social media and blasted the interview, saying the couple acted as if no one in royal history had ever dealt with bad press before. In her eyes, that claim was way too dramatic, and she was not buying it for a second. Her response got attention fast because of how sharp it was. "Give me a break," she snapped, basically accusing Harry and Meghan of drowning in their own victimhood while living lives of extreme privilege. And when the conversation kept going on Good Morning Britain, Meghan doubled down even more. She said Meghan seemed completely unaware of how her comments to Oprah would sound to ordinary people, and argued that most viewers would see the complaints as distant, elite, and impossible to relate to. That is what made Meghan Kelly's reaction stand out so much. She was not speaking like someone giving the couple the benefit of the doubt. She was speaking like someone who felt the whole performance had been wildly out of touch from the start. No soft landing, no careful wording, no cushion at all. Chrissy Swan also made her feelings known, and she did it in a way that opened the floodgates online. She publicly shared on Facebook that she could never warm to Meghan, saying she felt Meghan was always playing a part. In Chrissy's view, the humility did not feel natural. It felt acted, polished, and carefully staged for an audience. That post hit a nerve fast. What started as one opinion quickly turned into a pile-on, with hundreds of commenters jumping in to agree and back her judgment. It became one more example of how criticism of Meghan often spreads fast once someone says the quiet part out loud. The reaction was messy, loud, and very online. Then came Noel Gallagher, and this one had its own wild energy. In 2024, people were stunned when Noel and Liam Gallagher finally agreed to reunite for an Oasis tour after years of public feuding. But before that reunion, Noel was still doing what Noel does best, taking swipes at just about everybody. In a 2021 interview with The Sun, he took a detour from attacking Liam and started unloading on Prince Harry instead. Noel compared his feud with Liam to the rift between William and Harry, joking that he was basically the William of the Gallagher family. Then he went harder, accusing Harry of constantly talking too much and airing family drama in public. He also claimed Harry's behaviour was being driven by his wife and added a line about Americans that only made the backlash bigger. It was messy, loud, and exactly the kind of quote that keeps tabloids fed for days. Chris Rock was another name people did not expect to hear in this conversation, but once he spoke, the reaction was huge. In his live stand-up special Selective Outrage, he mocked Meghan's comments about concerns over how dark Archie's skin might be. Meghan had shared that allegation during the Oprah interview, and Chris Rock made it clear he saw the moment very differently. He told the audience, "That's not racism. Even black families talk about how brown a baby might be." That line got a big laugh from the crowd, and from there, he kept going. Chris argued that Meghan was leaning too hard into the victim angle and joked that she seemed nice, but always complaining. Then he pushed even further, questioning how shocked she could really be after marrying into such an old institution. Chris Rock also mocked the idea of surprise by calling the royal family the original racists, which made his whole point even clearer. He was saying Meghan should have known what kind of world she was stepping into. A lot of people found the bit funny, while others felt he completely dismissed a serious issue. Either way, the clip spread fast, and his comments became one of the most talked about celebrity reactions to Meghan's claims. Queen Camilla is another figure whose reported doubts about Meghan have followed this story for years. According to royal author Tom Bower in Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, concerns about Meghan were allegedly there long before the marriage fully settled into palace life. Bower wrote that Camilla questioned whether Meghan could truly leave behind her independence, public identity, and career ambitions for the kind of lifelong duty royal life demands. In that version of events, Camilla reportedly felt Meghan showed disrespect early on and was not especially open to guidance. As time passed and Harry and Meghan left royal duties in 2020, those doubts were said to harden even more. Reports circulated that Camilla used an unflattering nickname for Meghan, one meant to hint at trouble, chaos, and drama following close behind. Whether every detail is true or not, the picture being painted was clear. This relationship was rocky from the start. People close to the royal conversation have long claimed the tension ran both ways. Camilla was reportedly seen as skeptical of Meghan's motives, while Meghan was said to have strongly disliked Camilla as well. Over time, the distance only grew until the two sides seemed to be moving on completely separate tracks, with no real trust left between them. It became less of a simple personality clash and more like a full breakdown in chemistry. And then there's Katie Hopkins, whose attacks were some of the harshest and most aggressive of them all. The British media personality built a reputation on shock tactics and inflammatory commentary, and Meghan became one of her favourite targets. Hopkins repeatedly mocked the Duchess in public, even dressing up as her to parody one of her interviews. Her conduct drew widespread criticism for a reason, and she was eventually banned from Twitter for hateful behaviour. According to reports, Hopkins later appeared in a documentary about Meghan and kept pushing the same hostile line. She called Meghan the biggest hypocrite and went after her appearance and fashion in a way many people found petty and over the top. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from senior royal duties, Hopkins jumped on that too without wasting a second. By that point, it was obvious this was not fair criticism anymore. It had become a relentless campaign of personal hostility, and even many critics of Meghan saw that line being crossed. The Duchess later popped up in a video talking all about the wedding, and for Meghan Markle's critics, that moment said a whole lot. To them, it looked like Meghan was once again right in the middle of the spotlight, exactly where they believe she likes to be. In their eyes, this was classic Meghan from the jump, and they say the warning signs were there from day one. A lot of critics have long argued that Meghan always seemed drawn to fame, attention, and celebrity life in a way that stood out fast. Fair or not, that image followed her straight into royal life and only got louder with every interview, every headline, and every polished public moment. Supporters call it confidence. Critics call it a non-stop chase for the spotlight. Jeremy Clarkson was one of the biggest names to jump into that storm, and he did it in a way that blew up instantly. In a Sun column, the former Top Gear host used language about Meghan that readers slammed as hateful and sexist. The backlash got so big that Britain's press watchdog later ruled against the piece, and the whole mess turned into a major embarrassment for the paper. Clarkson later tried to walk it back with a public apology, saying he was sorry from the soles of his feet to the hair on his head. But by then, many people felt the damage was already done. That episode became one of the clearest examples of how criticism around Meghan can get way too ugly, way too fast. Tina Brown came at Meghan from a different angle, but her words were still brutal. The veteran journalist and Palace Papers author said Harry seemed heavily under Meghan's influence and argued that Meghan's judgment had led them into one bad move after another. Brown's core point was that Meghan appeared convinced she had the formula for a much bigger future, but in Brown's view, that promise never really landed. She also claimed Meghan kept chasing expert advice, only to brush it aside when it stopped matching her plan. That is what made Brown's criticism hit so hard. It was not just about one moment or one interview. She was basically saying Meghan's instincts kept steering the whole thing off track. Candace Owens added even more heat, and nobody expected her to hold back. After Harry and Meghan left royal life and moved to the United States, Owens framed it as Harry being cut off from his family rather than freed from pressure. Then came the jab that spread fast online. "Dear Prince Harry, Meghan Markle is not the victim." That line was built for drama, and it did exactly what it was meant to do. Howard Stern was just as blunt when he weighed in on their Netflix series. Stern said he could not understand how Harry and Meghan kept asking for privacy while also putting so much of their lives into huge media projects. Then he dropped the line people kept repeating, comparing them to the Kardashians, just without the fun. Quick, sharp, and straight to the point. Wendy Williams came at the story from a more emotional angle, even though the shade was still there. Wendy openly backed Thomas Markle and said Meghan might one day regret keeping her father out of her children's lives. She pointed out that he was older, dealing with health problems, and still had grandchildren he barely knew. Her message was simple: time keeps moving, and family wounds can get harder to fix the longer they sit. Simi Garawal also weighed in after the Oprah interview, and her criticism was fierce. She later softened one of her harshest words, but she still made it clear she did not trust Meghan's version of events. Simi also pushed the idea that Meghan knew exactly what she was stepping into when she married into the royal family, which gave critics another angle to run with. And finally, there is Trevor Engelson, Meghan's ex-husband, whose name always brings extra curiosity to the story. Trevor has mostly stayed quiet, but royal biographer Andrew Morton reopened that chapter and brought back old claims about how badly the marriage ended. One claim that stuck the most was that Meghan allegedly mailed her wedding ring back after just 2 years, with no warning and no closure. For critics, that detail fit the image they already had in mind. Now it is your turn. What do you really think about Meghan Markle after hearing all of this? Do you think these celebrities were calling it right, or do you think some of them took it way too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more royal drama, celebrity reactions, and wild headline moments. Hit that bell too, so you do not miss the next upload.
She's clearly doing this because she's trying to prove to the mainstream media, because now they're starting to talk about this whole birth being fictitious coming from Meghan. So she's trying to put out there to the haters, look, it is me giving birth. See, I'm in the hospital dancing like a skank.
She's got form for strapping on baby bumps.
There's something very wrong with that shape, in my view.
I think they split within 12 months.
Developing today. It was the slut job that ricocheted around the world for all the wrong reasons. Meghan Markle believed that she would finally put to rest the ongoing and, I believe, very accurate speculation that she had been wearing a moon bump, given that if these children were not born by Meghan Markle's body, then they are unable to sit in the line of succession, the royal line of succession. We're talking about Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, of course. Then this video, and let's take a look at some of it, because this video has horrified so many, because Meghan quite clearly here is in some type of moon bump. This is not a natural body position. That's before you even get to the fact.
For years, uneasy whispers followed Meghan Markle's pregnancies wherever she went. Now, a woman known only as DL claims she's pulling back the curtain on what she describes as the biggest royal secret of this era.
Meghan, there. Is that a real baby bump, or has she strapped it on? Because
really weird.
She's got form for strapping on baby bumps.
Alleging she was the woman who carried Archie and Lilibet. Not a helper, not a background figure, the surrogate, according to her claims. DL says she was recruited by a top-level, ultra-private California agency with one clear objective: carry the children, sign the agreements, and disappear without leaving a trail.
She comes out with this video of her in the hospital room, apparently getting ready to give labor to this child, Lily. Now, first of all, there's a few things I have to say about this video, okay? Looking at this video, the first thing that comes to mind is that stomach is too big.
DL alleges she was completely cut off from the outside world during the pregnancies. No phone calls, no visitors, no personal freedom, just a strict rotation of medical appointments, monitored rest and silence. She claims she lived in isolation while Meghan appeared in public, smiling for cameras with what DL alleges was a carefully padded belly and a perfectly rehearsed maternal glow. While Meghan was hosting polished interviews and appearing calm and composed on television, DL claims she was in physical pain, contracting, bleeding.
Ordering those images, it's so undignified. I don't know, call me old-fashioned, but I'm finding that quite uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. I don't think, because she's done this before for photos, I don't think that is a real baby bump. I think
way too big. It's way too big.
And sort of too low.
And delivering the children away from public view. According to DL, the deal was blunt: stay quiet, take the payment, and vanish without questions. But DL says she reached her limit after years of being treated like a disposable prop in what she calls Meghan's royal performance. She's now stepping forward, voice shaking but firm, with claims she believes could rattle Buckingham Palace to its foundation. No longer hidden behind secrecy, she presents herself as the woman who could set the entire stage on fire. Think back to how controlled those pregnancies appeared.
She comes out with this video of her in the hospital room, apparently getting ready to give labor to this child, Lily. Now, first of all, there's a few things I have to say about this video.
Then came her first public appearance.
Okay, now she's clearly doing this because she's trying to prove to the mainstream media, because now they're starting to talk about this whole birth being fictitious.
No hospital steps, no doctors standing outside, no flashing cameras or traditional royal fanfare. Just short announcements that felt rushed and oddly incomplete. One day visibly pregnant, the next day, Archie is here, and many quietly wondered how the timeline moved so fast. Then came Meghan's first public appearance after giving birth. Slim, glowing, energised, moving with ease like nothing had happened. Social media praised her strength and composure. Fans called it magical. But skeptics raised eyebrows. Some pointed to her waistline, others to her energy, and many asked the same question: how is that physically possible? And then there was the video, Meghan mid-interview, lowering herself into a chair, and the bump appeared to fold in a way critics called unnatural. Not soft fabric creasing, but sharp, defined folds. The internet exploded overnight. Moon bump rumours surged while royal defenders dismissed it as conspiracy talk. But DL claims it wasn't paranoia.
This whole birth being fictitious, coming from Meghan. So she's trying to put out there to the haters, look, it is me giving birth. See, I'm in the hospital dancing like a skank. I couldn't believe I saw her dancing like, I'm sorry to call her that word, but she is. You're a duchess. Who does this? Who behaves like this? Sit your Duchess of Sussex butt down. What are you doing? Dancing all provocatively, supposedly pregnant in that big fake looking bump. I'm sorry, it doesn't even make sense.
It was preparation. She alleges Meghan wore silicone pregnancy bellies, custom-made prosthetic bumps designed for each trimester. According to DL, every walk, every pose, every photo was rehearsed and staged like a film scene, tightly controlled from start to finish. When Archie's birth certificate became public, many noticed something strange immediately. Meghan's legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was absent, replaced by Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan pointed to palace protocol. The palace pointed back at Meghan, but DL claims this was no clerical mix-up. It was deliberate legal framing. DL alleges she signed strict NDAs, received detailed contracts, and was promised private medical care.
Fresh from repeatedly telling us that they were escaping the United Kingdom because they wanted privacy. They hated the press. They hated everything to be involved in the intrusion in their lives. And then they had their little children and the feral children, and they left them with the chickens. And all she does now with her jams that are crap is...
She claims she holds timelines, medical records, ultrasounds, documents and correspondence tied to Meghan's legal team and the elite agency she says orchestrated the surrogacy arrangement. According to DL, the agreement was simple. She would be compensated and erased. But she claims Meghan wanted more than children. She wanted the public image of motherhood itself. Now that DL is speaking out, she alleges powerful legal pressure is trying to silence her again. DL insists this isn't gossip, it's litigation. She claims she has receipts and says she's prepared to take them to court if necessary. And if her claims were ever validated, Meghan's entire pregnancy narrative could collapse under scrutiny.
Room. This is we're playing it. She's waiting for she's twerking with the baby to try and make the baby come. This is to induce Elizabeth's birth. She's dancing in front of the camera. Oh God, it looks like a lap dancing club with pregnant women. He's also dancing in front of the camera.
DL also alleges Prince Harry wasn't an unaware bystander. According to her claims, he knew, visited her during the pregnancy, and even wrote her a handwritten letter of gratitude. If true, that shifts this story from personal scandal to constitutional chaos. The monarchy isn't just celebrity drama, it's built on bloodlines and succession rules. DL claims both children were born through surrogacy and that it was kept hidden from the institution itself. If proven, such claims could challenge the legitimacy of Archie and Lilibet's places in the line of succession.
Gosh, where does this... I mean, I think that they're going to do another reality show. I think that they are going to have to break down and continue to spill, because I don't think that any of their commercial ventures are working. But this is not the way. This is not the path. I think she's being completely destructive to her own brand.
Palace insiders are rumoured to be holding legal meetings, crisis discussions and consultations with constitutional experts. This wouldn't just be a public relations problem, it would threaten the monarchy's foundation. If these claims are true, then not only was the public misled, but so were the Queen, the Commonwealth, and every taxpayer funding the royal lifestyle. And for Prince Harry, there's no walking this one back, because the claims from DL are enormous. And still, nothing. No statement from Meghan and Harry's camp. No Instagram rebuttal. No carefully worded denial. Not even a friendly leak to a glossy outlet. Just silence. Cold and deliberate. And that silence is screaming louder than any headline ever could. Social media is spiralling fast.
The people who criticise them are, in our kind of bubble, really. You'd be amazed.
Supporters who once compared Meghan to a modern Diana are quietly deleting old tweets. Influencers who defended every move are suddenly nowhere to be found. Even media outlets known for Sussex-friendly coverage are tiptoeing carefully, because the real question dominating feeds isn't, is it true? It's, why hasn't she denied it? In a world where media-trained royals respond to everything, silence is rarely confidence. More often, it signals panic. And this time, that quiet could cost Meghan everything.
Meghan Markle for something else she's been doing. I'm not kidding you. But here's my theory. My theory is that because of that protection they've been afforded by the mainstream media, that they're so out of touch with what the regular people believe that I think
Her reputation, her credibility, and the carefully built brand she's guarded for years. She's not just losing fans anymore, she's losing trust, and once that cracks, it doesn't glue back together easily. Behind closed doors, insiders claim tensions are exploding. Prince Harry, once relaxed and self-assured, is allegedly unravelling under the pressure. Reports suggest he's lashing out at staff, cutting off long-time friends, and pleading with Meghan to address the allegations publicly. But according to palace sources, Meghan has refused, believing that speaking would make it real.
Because how can we know that it's not? Given that this clearly is not a bump that at all looks like a human pregnant bump. Alexandra Marshall, what do you make of this video?
Insiders allege she told Harry silence keeps control, even as evidence piles up. Sources claim the couple is now sleeping in separate rooms, the dynamic strained and fractured. Meghan is said to be locked into non-stop calls with PR strategists and legal advisors, while Harry reportedly spirals, frozen by the fear of what happens if the truth explodes, and it just might. And then comes the move no one saw coming. DL has reportedly agreed to a DNA test. She's lawyered up, ready to go public, and prepared to put everything on the line.
My friend, when you invited me on this show, you didn't say you're going to traumatize me. I am an ambassador.
If the DNA matches, this story stops being scandal and becomes reckoning. This is the twist that changed everything. DL isn't just talking anymore. She's submitting to science. She's allegedly willing to testify under oath, publicly and legally, with the possibility of a televised deposition that could shatter the royal fairy tale once and for all. Her legal team claims to hold documentation, ultrasounds, contracts, agency communications, and delivery records.
Otherwise, this video would be playing on repeat. But basically, with this whole Meghan Markle thing, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They were so desperate to be the victims of the press. Well, that's exactly what Harry's gone out and done, and they pretend to want privacy and to be left alone and respect, and then they go and drop something like this, which, I mean, I know she's not the brightest, most in-touch person in the world, but even she would know that this video is going to attract all the wrong kinds of attention, and you can't tell me it's got nothing to do with the timing of this release, which you would have thought would be around the time of the birth, not, years later. It's because they've had such a monumental failure with their products and their services online that their attention-seeking money revenue streams are drying up. And so this is like a last-ditch, bottom-of-the-barrel effort. You said, will it bring her down? She's got to get off the floor before you bring her back down again. I mean, there's nowhere for her to go, and she's not going to divorce.
And the DNA test could finally answer the question royal watchers have whispered for years. Who really gave birth to Archie and Lilibet? If results confirm DL's claims, the fallout would be immediate. Titles questioned, succession rights scrutinised, public funding potentially frozen. The palace's long silence would crack into a constitutional earthquake felt worldwide.
The best thing that Charles and William could do now is actually say enough. Enough. We've got to strip you.
Behind palace gates, contingency plans are reportedly being drafted. Quiet discussions are said to be underway about how to distance the monarchy from Harry and Meghan without triggering a public revolt. This isn't just protocol, it's survival. This story is no longer about headlines or image management. It's about protecting the throne from a truth it never wanted exposed. Meghan's carefully crafted identity, devoted mother, activist, feminist icon, is now under fire. Her project centred on motherhood feels suddenly awkward. Her speeches re-examined, her messaging questioned. Blogs that once praised her maternity style have gone dark. Fashion moments once celebrated are now under scrutiny. A former stylist reportedly hinted that not everything was as it seemed, while palace aides speaking anonymously claim pregnancy-related questions were strictly off-limits. One insider allegedly said, "You ask? You're gone. It wasn't just curated. It was controlled, and now that control is slipping fast. Meghan's polished image as the woman who rewrote royal motherhood with grace is collapsing under the weight of one woman's claims.
Deeply unpopular. But for me, there's something
This
quite
isn't about
grim about the fact that
racism,
they're
class,
carrying
or
on like this
tabloids
while
anymore.
remaining
It's about
sort of
credibility,
connected to the
and
royal family
DL's
in
voice
some
is cutting
way.
straight through a silence Meghan may have tried to buy. Forget gossip, forget petty drama. What's unfolding looks like a potential collapse of royal legitimacy itself. If DL's story is verified, everything tied to Harry and Meghan, the titles, the deals, the narrative, even their children's identities, comes into question. This isn't just embarrassing, it's unprecedented. At the centre are two children pulled into a storm they never chose. And if deception was knowingly orchestrated, it wouldn't just be misleading the world, it would be exploiting it. Harry and Meghan once cast themselves as victims of royal cruelty. Now critics are asking whether they were the architects of betrayal all along. DL's claims have cracked open a truth the monarchy desperately wanted buried, and once spoken, truth doesn't stay quiet. DL's story is dominating headlines, but what's more chilling is what we still haven't heard. No denials, no lawsuits, no reassurances. Silence can be a tactic, but right now, it looks dangerously close to surrender. As the world waits for DNA results, the royal stage grows colder. The players remain frozen, the lights dim, because if DL's claims are confirmed, the final act won't be gentle. What began as a royal love story could end as a royal lie. The world is watching, and this time it's not looking away. The silence is loud, but the truth is louder, and it's coming. Now it's your turn. If you're following this story, hit like, subscribe for updates, share this with someone who needs to see it, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the silence says everything?
Meghan is hardly innocent. She's down in the dirt with me, whether she likes it or not.
Stripping Meghan and Andrew of their titles was the right course. I have full confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestionable.
Hidden deep within the shadowed corridors of a remote Windsor estate, secrets waited to erupt. A fog-choked night in late October 2025 clung heavy to every stone and hedge, thick with unspoken truths. The air felt almost suffocating as former Prince Andrew faced a trusted confidant in a private interview. Only days earlier, stripped of his royal titles by his brother, King Charles, Andrew's expression carried the raw mix of defiance and quiet resignation that comes with public disgrace. He leaned forward, his voice a low rumble, echoing off the oak-panelled walls. "Meghan is hardly innocent," he muttered, eyes narrowing. "She's down in the dirt with me, whether she likes it or not." The room went silent, the weight of his words hanging like a gathering storm. Outside, the wind whipped through the trees, almost as if the world itself shuddered at the revelation. This was not a simple family argument. It was a fissure in the very foundation of the monarchy, one that threatened to pull in figures from across oceans. For years, whispers swirled about hidden connections and secret associations. But with Andrew's complete fall from grace, the floodgates seemed ready to explode. How had it come to this? And how deep did these ties really run? Buckingham Palace had long prided itself on discretion, but secrets of this magnitude claw their way into the light, no matter how tightly they're locked away. Andrew's path to this moment had been slow, agonizing, a public unravelling for all to watch. Once celebrated as a naval officer and the Queen's favoured son, Andrew's life had spiralled amid ties to Jeffrey Epstein, the financier whose scandalous web ensnared the rich, powerful, and famous worldwide. Unsealed court documents over the years painted a world of lavish parties, private jets, and friendships that would later haunt him. Andrew had always publicly denied any wrongdoing, but his statements grew strained as pressure mounted. In 2022, he quietly settled a civil lawsuit with Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, for a reported £12 million, a move that avoided trial but did nothing to erase the stain on his reputation. When Charles ascended the throne in 2022, he initially allowed Andrew to keep some privileges, but as public outrage swelled and new details emerged, the king's patience wore thin. By October 2025, with US congressional scrutiny of Epstein's network intensifying, Charles took an unprecedented step. Buckingham Palace issued a stark statement. Andrew would be stripped of his style, titles, and honours, reduced to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a private citizen. Evicted from his royal residence and left with minimal security, he was forced into a smaller property, a private life under the watchful eyes of the world. Inside the family, this was only the beginning. Andrew's bitterness festered, and in that interview, he held nothing back. Pointing fingers at Meghan wasn't random. It stemmed from years of shared shadows and perceived slights. As the fog thickened outside, so did the intrigue. What did he mean by her being down in the dirt? The interview was shrouded in mystery, arranged through back channels with a journalist known for discretion. It was supposed to be Andrew's chance to clear his name, or at least vent frustrations. But as the conversation turned to Epstein, his tone shifted. He described overlapping social circles and introductions made at high society events where lines blurred. "It wasn't just me," he said, hands gesturing emphatically. There were others who knew who moved in those same rooms. Then came the bombshell about Meghan. Sources claim Andrew alleged that before her marriage to Harry in 2018, Meghan crossed paths with Epstein via mutual acquaintances in the entertainment world. He hinted that documents or emails could surface linking her to invitations or gatherings. Of course, these accusations were unverified, and some suggested they were born of resentment over Harry and Meghan's own departure from royal duties in 2020. The Sussexes had built a new life in California, founding Archwell and pursuing media deals, but Andrew reportedly saw parallels in their falls from favour. "She's painted as the victim," he scoffed, "but we've both been cast out." Pressed for details, he clammed up, teasing that more would emerge later. As the session ended, the estate gates creaked open and the journalist slipped away into the night. Word leaked almost immediately, sparking a media frenzy. But this was only the tip of the iceberg. How had Meghan become entangled in Andrew's web of accusations? Flashback to the glittering pre-royal life of Meghan Markle, a whirlwind of Hollywood auditions, networking events, and rising fame from her role on Suits. Born August 4th, 1981 in Los Angeles, Meghan grew up in a middle-class family. Her father worked as a lighting director in television, her mother as a yoga instructor and social worker. She attended private schools, including Immaculate Heart High School, where she honed her acting skills and developed a passion for philanthropy. By her early 20s, Meghan was navigating the cutthroat entertainment world, landing small roles and building connections. Between 2010 and 2013, whispers of indirect links to Epstein's circle emerged in speculative reports. Epstein, known for hobnobbing with celebrities and royals alike, hosted events drawing eclectic crowds. Some media outlets later suggested Meghan may have attended a party or two via mutual friends, but no concrete evidence ever surfaced. Meanwhile, Andrew deepened his own ties to Epstein, visiting properties and appearing in photos that would haunt him. Two worlds, Hollywood and royalty, seemed distant, yet Epstein's network bridged them. When Meghan met Harry in 2016, her past was scrutinised, but nothing stuck. Now, with Andrew's admission, old rumours resurfaced. Was it jealousy? Or was there some truth buried in the archives? The palace braced for impact. As details trickled out, the focus shifted to King Charles. The monarch, battling ongoing cancer treatments since 2024, had long navigated scandals with a steady hand. His statement stripping Andrew of his titles was clear, necessary to protect the integrity of the institution. Privately, Charles was torn, Andrew was his brother, and the weight of the decision was heavy. Pressed on Meghan, Charles hinted at a broader purge. Meghan and Andrew had lost titles at the peak of the Epstein fallout around 2019 to 2021. For Andrew, it meant losing patronages. For Meghan and Harry, it was the Mexi agreement, stepping back from HRH titles and senior roles. Charles viewed it as a necessary cleansing. Stripping Meghan and Andrew was the right move, he reportedly told aides. "I have full confidence in Catherine and William. Their judgment is sound, their loyalty unquestionable." That endorsement marked a pivotal shift, elevating the Prince and Princess of Wales to unprecedented influence. Why link Meghan and Andrew so directly? Perhaps to consolidate power amid chaos. William, ever the dutiful heir, had long pushed for decisive action against Andrew, viewing the scandal as a threat to the monarchy. Catherine, composed and focused on her children, quietly supported him. Together, they had become the face of a modern, relatable monarchy, championing mental health, early childhood education, and environmental causes. Charles's declaration handed them ultimate power, shaping palace decisions from public engagements to internal reforms. In the days after Andrew's interview, William and Catherine met Charles at Balmoral, discussing strategies to weather the storm. "We must move forward. United," William urged. "Steady." Catherine nodded. "The public needs to see strength, not division." As the meeting ended, the trio stood on the castle balcony overlooking the misty highlands, a symbolic passing of the torch from old guard to new. Across the ocean in Montecito, Harry and Meghan watched the drama unfold with mounting concern. Would this admission drag them deeper into the mire? Meghan responded swiftly through a spokesperson, denying involvement and calling Andrew's claims baseless and desperate. Her life post-royalty had blended advocacy and entrepreneurship, from Netflix deals to her American Riviera orchard brand, yet shadows of the past lingered. Digging into her biography reveals a woman of resilience. After graduating from Northwestern University with degrees in theatre and international studies, she worked as a briefcase model on Deal or No Deal before breaking through on Suits, a journey that reflected both grit and determination, shaping the Meghan the world now knew. From the start, Meghan's humanitarian work set her apart, volunteering with the UN and World Vision. Her activism marked her path long before marriage. When she wed Harry in 2018, she was thrust into a global spotlight, facing scrutiny over her background like never before. Some 2021 reports mentioned her name in Epstein-related court filings, but only as a potential witness due to her presence in elite social circles. Jeff Ray's lawyer reportedly expressed interest, citing jurisdiction and possible knowledge, but nothing came of it. Andrew's shocking admission reignited these threads, suggesting a possible shared event or introduction. But without proof, it remained speculation, and tabloids pounced. Meghan focused on her family, raising Archie and Lilibet, staying deliberately out of the storm. Protective as always, Harry stood firmly by her side, yet the palace's silence spoke volumes. Was the king drawing a line? King Charles's rare public address in November 2025 added fuel to the fire. He alluded to difficult choices made for the family's sake, while privately consulting advisors on the Sussexes' remaining titles. Speculation swirled that Harry and Meghan could be next in line for title stripping, especially following Andrew's precedent. Charles publicly praised William and Catherine as the monarchy's bedrock, hinting at a consolidation of authority. This shift gave them ultimate power, control over family appearances, budgets, and policy guidance. William's Earthshot Prize received increased royal backing, while Catherine's Shaping Us campaign expanded dramatically. The change was subtle but powerful, signalling a streamlined, future-focused institution. Andrew, now isolated, reportedly regretted his outburst, but the interview tape, though private, had already leaked to select outlets, amplifying the drama. Public opinion was split. Some saw Andrew's statements as revenge, others as revelation. Polls showed declining support for peripheral royals, strengthening Charles's strategy. Delving into the alleged ties reveals a tangled web. Epstein's infamous Black Book listed many contacts. While Meghan's name wasn't directly there, associates like her former publicist and Hollywood friends were. Andrew, a frequent visitor to Epstein's Island and Manhattan townhouse, might have crossed paths with Meghan at high-profile galas. A 2013 New York event, hosted by a mutual acquaintance, is cited as a possible overlap. Meghan, promoting Suits, attended similar functions. Andrew claimed in the interview that conversations hinted at shared knowledge of Epstein's dealings, but vagueness undermined credibility. Meghan countered with her record, highlighting her work against exploitation, patronage of women's rights groups, gap-year travels, and early activism. Her life painted a picture of integrity. Still, Andrew's admission forced public re-examination. Harry called the claims defamatory nonsense. Their Netflix series had touched on palace intrigues, but this escalated tensions further. Meanwhile, Charles solidified his stance, meeting with parliamentarians to discuss royal reforms. William and Catherine's empowerment became evident. They reviewed family protocols, emphasizing transparency. Catherine, drawing from media pressures she endured, advocated mental health support. William focused on environmental legacy, aligning with Charles's passions. Their ultimate power wasn't dictatorial, but advisory, highly influential. As Andrew faded into obscurity, living quietly in a modest home, the focus shifted to healing. Yet Meghan's shadow loomed. Would she litigate or let it fade? Drama intensified with each revelation, peeling back another layer. King Charles's full confirmation came during a tense family summit at Sandringham in early November 2025. Present were William, Catherine, and select aides. Charles, frail but resolute, recounted the height of the Epstein case. "When scrutiny peaked, we had no choice but to act," he said. Andrew was immediately distanced. Meghan and Harry's Mexi terms were strictly enforced, sidelining their titles. He explained the moves were to preserve the core family, praising William and Catherine and reiterating his full confidence. The meeting cemented the transfer of influence. William and Catherine now consulted on all major decisions publicly. While the palace downplayed links between Meghan and Andrew, privately it fueled internal reforms. Charles's health added urgency. A stable handover was critical as winter set in. Worldwide, reactions poured in. Tabloids screamed headlines like royal betrayal exposed. Supporters of Meghan criticised the coverage as misogynistic deflection. On social media, Andrew's critics felt vindicated. Hashtags trended, and debates flared about overlapping royal and Hollywood worlds. Meanwhile, William and Catherine stayed poised, attending events with renewed vigour, their power subtly manifesting through increased funding and streamlined staff initiatives. Catherine's role grew exponentially. Born Kate Middleton on January 9, 1982, in Reading, she embodied quiet strength. At St Andrews, she met William, forging a partnership built on mutual respect. After marriage, she navigated motherhood and royal duties with grace, championing children's mental health and early education. With Charles' backing, she influenced policy, expanding early years programs. William focused on global issues like homelessness through Homewoods initiatives. Their ultimate power ensured monarchy relevance, countering scandals with action. Meghan's biography, rich with achievements from acting to advocacy, contrasted sharply, fueling debates on fairness. Fallout extended to transatlantic relations. Harry and Meghan's Archwell faced scrutiny, yet they persevered with projects like the Invictus Games. Charles's words hinted no reconciliation was expected. By late 2025, family dynamics had shifted irreversibly. Polls showed 60% supported Andrew's stripping, but only 40% believed Meghan was involved. Protests outside Buckingham Palace called for transparency, while William and Catherine hosted strategic roundtables on reform. Andrew, regretful, retreated further. Meghan leveraged the moment to amplify her voice, launching initiatives on media literacy. Charles's health stabilised, allowing focus on legacy and potential further title changes. Biographical digs highlighted Andrew's naval career and trade envoy role, but Epstein ties eclipsed them. Meghan's UN speeches and charity work served as counterpoints, weaving personal histories into the scandal and humanising the figures. Ultimately, this explosive saga revealed the British monarchy's fragility, an institution weathering centuries of turmoil, now under relentless digital scrutiny. Charles's bold decisions, from formally stripping titles to empowering William and Catherine, were calculated moves to ensure the crown's survival in an era where public trust hangs by a thread. Unsealed Epstein documents dominated headlines in late 2025, including emails showing Andrew's desperate denials and photos with accusers. On October 30th, 2025, Buckingham Palace announced Andrew's demotion, eviction and reduced security, a step hailed by UK lawmakers as accountability. Public polls reflected overwhelming support. 90% of Britons backed Charles's actions, seeing them as a necessary purge to protect the monarchy. Linking Meghan via Andrew's private admission subtly reinforced this broader cleansing, confirming that both were sidelined at the scandal's peak to preserve the core family. As the dust settled, William and Catherine emerged stronger than ever, the undisputed architects of the monarchy's future. With Charles's explicit confidence in their judgment and loyalty, the couple expanded roles, issuing royal warrants, initiating reforms, blending tradition with modernity. William, shaken by family health crises, including Charles's cancer and Catherine's recovery, focused on preparing Prince George for kingship, emphasising grounded upbringing amid royal pomp. Catherine, once Kate Middleton from modest Berkshire beginnings, became pivotal, championing early childhood development and mental health. Their 2025 Royal Variety performance appearance, the first red carpet in 2 years, symbolised renewal, matching velvet outfits drawing cheers and signalling a united front. Under their guidance, the monarchy pivoted to a slimmed-down, efficient model, potentially enlisting capable relatives like Lady Louise Windsor. Andrew's bitter admission, whether motivated by spite or hidden truths, forced long-overdue palace reckoning. His claims about Meghan's alleged Epstein ties echoed in media and social whispers, yet no concrete evidence surfaced. Meghan, resilient, continued candid interviews, highlighting Harry's unwavering support and glimpses of family life, including daughter Lilybate's presence in meetings. Her popularity surged in US polls, rising 18 points after a summer dip, as she shared lessons learned and transformation from actress to advocate. Living in Montecito, she pursued Archewell initiatives, emphasizing empowerment and media literacy, turning potential scandal into a narrative of growth. This chapter, packed with revelations and palace-shaking reforms, hints at a monarchy reborn, not through rigid tradition, but through adaptive strength and calculated resilience. Historical echoes ripple from Edward VIII's abdication to more recent family rifts, yet Charles's decisive actions, amplified by William and Catherine's vision, suggest a daring path forward. Meanwhile, Epstein files continue to surface under the Trump-era bill, forcing the Justice Department to release more sensitive documents, keeping the palace and the world on edge, with each new disclosure adding tension to already fragile royal relations. The royal family braces for new storms. Will this purge truly strengthen the crown, or will it sow fresh divisions? The Globe watches intently as the House of Windsor navigates uncharted waters, its survival now hinging on transparency, loyalty, and unity. Andrew's shocking claims have sent ripples far beyond the palace walls, challenging public trust and testing familial bonds. Each revelation threatens to reshape public perception and the monarchy's legacy in ways few could have predicted. Where does responsibility lie? How should the monarchy handle future scandals without unravelling centuries of tradition? And can William and Catherine continue to rise as the steadying force the monarchy desperately needs? Their influence, now undeniable, could shape the royal narrative for generations to come, setting a precedent for transparency and resilience that may define the crown for decades. What's your take on Andrew's bombshells and their fallout? Do you see William and Catherine as the true saviours of the monarchy? Share your thoughts below, smash that like button. Subscribe for more royal updates, drop a share, and don't forget to comment. Let's hear what you think about the future of the House of Windsor.
I think that I've now, at 63 years old, suddenly owned that it's not a bad thing to speak your voice.
There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early...
The walls of Montecito feel like they're rattling again, and this time it's not because some camera crew showed up or a PR stunt spun out of control. This shock hit deeper, sharper, like a headline nobody was ready for. Word is spreading that Meghan Markle is in full-on meltdown mode after Sarah Ferguson, yes, the real Fergie, decided to open old vaults that were never meant to see daylight. The secrets she dropped about Meghan's yacht days and her supposed link to a certain duke long before Prince Harry have blasted both royal insiders and Hollywood circles into absolute chaos. The drama blew up so fast that even Buckingham Palace had to whisper behind locked doors, trying to steady the fallout. grab a cup of something because this isn't your usual gossip. It's the kind of story that shakes crowns, freezes PR teams, and lights up every gossip page from LA to London. The wild part, it started quietly, too quietly. Fergie was out promoting her newest book, giving a soft, mellow interview about healing, lessons, forgiveness, all that calm energy. But everything switched when the interviewer casually mentioned Meghan Markle and her so-called modern influence on the monarchy. Witnesses claim the whole room shifted. Fergie's face tightened. She tilted her head real slow and said, "Oh, Meghan." Then she added, with that signature sly Fergie smile, "Well, let's just say she's not the first young woman who's been fascinated by royal life or the perks that come with it." The interviewer tried an awkward laugh, but Fergie didn't flinch. Instead, she doubled down. She leaned in and said she remembered whispers from years back about a certain yacht summer, those glamorous trips where everyone plays dress up, trying to catch the eye of powerful people and hoping someone important is watching. And then came the line that detonated every corner of the internet. Some of those familiar faces ended up in very unexpected places, including Buckingham Palace. People froze. Royal watchers nearly dropped their phones. Fans even started resurfacing old clips of Frogmore Cottage, Meghan and Prince Harry's former home, because sharp-eyed followers remembered a certain infamous yacht trip from the early 2000s that has lingered around Meghan's online history for years. There were those high-end parties drifting off Greece and Monaco, events packed with models, Hollywood hopefuls, business moguls, and big-name social players. And who was reportedly there? A young, hungry actress just trying to break through. And according to old whispers, one powerful royal was also in the mix, the Duke of York, Prince Andrew. Now, nobody said Meghan and Andrew had anything romantic going on, but even the hint of that old rumour was enough to send shockwaves through every royal group chat. Because Fergie's words, whether she meant them to or not, dragged back the most controversial and reputation-threatening chapter from Meghan's pre-royal life, the yacht girl allegations. Within hours, the internet was blazing. Twitter, TikTok, every app turned into a battlefield with the hashtag Fergie said it exploding across timelines. Old photos came back, blog posts resurfaced, gossip threads multiplied, and people began claiming Fergie had basically confirmed the Hollywood circles that Meghan has been trying to bury inside Montecito for years. Inside sources say Meghan was furious, so angry she could barely speak. One source told The Mirror that Meghan accused Fergie of jealousy and betrayal, insisting she never met Andrew socially and that those yacht rumours were nothing more than misogynistic lies meant to tear down her reputation. But here's the twist. Fergie didn't walk anything back, not even a little. 24 hours later, paparazzi caught her outside Claridge's hotel in London. Cameras flashed, reporters yelled, and one person shouted, "Fergie, what did you mean about Meghan and the yacht summer?" And Fergie, being the seasoned scandal survivor she is, smirked like she'd been waiting for that moment. She said, "Oh, darling, I don't tell tales. I just remind people that every fairy tale starts somewhere." That single line sent shockwaves bouncing across both the royal world and the entertainment world, because if there's one thing Fergie knows, it's how to deliver a scandal with a smile behind the scenes. Royal insiders say Buckingham Palace wasn't amused at all, more like stunned into quiet panic. Even though Fergie hasn't been in the core royal lineup for years, her voice still hits hard, especially when she brings up a duchess already walking on thin ice with the crown. One royal aide reportedly told the Daily Mail that the palace had zero interest in revisiting Meghan Markle's past, but Fergie's comments dropped right when everything inside the monarchy was supposed to be calm again. The king has been pushing unity, and suddenly old wounds that were barely stitched up got ripped wide open. In simple terms, Fergie just blasted fuel into a fire the royals were scrambling to put out. But everyone's asking, why now? Why would Fergie, who knows exactly what it feels like to be dragged in public, risk throwing a shot at Meghan? Palace insiders claim it's all about respect, or the lack of it. Apparently, Fergie felt brushed off by Meghan during those early royal days, like she wasn't worth the time. Take that awkward moment at Princess Eugenie's wedding. Insiders claim Meghan's surprise pregnancy announcement overshadowed Eugenie's big day, and Fergie was heated. One insider even said Fergie felt it was classic Meghan making someone else's moment about herself. So when the chance came years later to remind the world of Meghan's messy past, Fergie didn't hesitate. She sprinkled a little royal payback with a smile. And let's be real, the Windsor clan knows how to hold grudges like pros. Meanwhile, Hollywood went into instant panic mode. Meghan's PR team reportedly started wiping certain search results, sending private messages to media outlets, trying to keep anyone from referencing old damaging rumors. But the internet moves fast, and it never forgets. Old blogs popped up, archived photos resurfaced, and former industry insiders started whispering about who Meghan used to meet and how she got into specific rooms. To make it even worse, Andrew's name being tossed anywhere near the situation, even indirectly, set off every alarm in every PR office across Los Angeles. No one wants their client anywhere close to Andrew's complicated reputation. One PR insider said it straight. If Fergie's hinting Meghan was even socially near that circle, it's a PR nightmare. Once that kind of story escapes, you can't force it back into hiding. By day 2, the headlines went global. Fergie's cryptic comments spark royal panic. Montecito in meltdown. Meghan furious after Sarah's yacht remarks. Was Meghan's past more connected to the royals than anyone knew? The controversy snowballed so fast, it felt like the ghosts of Meghan's pre-royal life walked right out of the archives and back into the spotlight. Fans also noticed something strange. Meghan's official website and her lifestyle trademarks suddenly went silent. No new posts, no updates, no cheerful project teasers, nothing. Just complete silence. People close to her inner circle say she locked herself in crisis meetings, demanding clarity from her publicist, calling old acquaintances, and even reaching out to Eugenie, who is now stuck in a painfully awkward spot between her mother and her once close cousin-in-law. But here's where it gets even messier. Sources around Fergie say she isn't backing down in the slightest. People close to her claim she's holding more stories that could clear up who really chased who during those early days before Meghan met Harry. If that's true, then this whole situation is just getting started. For years, Meghan's team has worked non-stop to distance her from that chapter. The yacht events, the networking circuits, the Hollywood hustling long before she stepped into royal life. But once Fergie broke the unspoken royal rule, never expose the past, the floodgates cracked open. Now Meghan's worst nightmare might be unfolding right in front of her, her pre-Duchess world colliding with her polished post-royal image in full public view. Suddenly, the once untouchable Duchess of Sussex looks cornered. Boxed in by Fergie's sly remarks, the internet's screenshots, and pieces of a history she thought she buried. And the question floating around now is simple. What is Meghan going to do? Because everyone knows this. Meghan Markle doesn't back down easily, but this time, her opponent isn't a tabloid, or critics, or a palace aide. It's another Duchess, one who knows the royal battlefield like the back of her hand. And Meghan might be about to learn what happens when you try to outmaneuver Fergie on her home turf. The walls of Montecito had never felt smaller. The moment the story broke, that Fergie, yes, Sarah Ferguson herself, hinted at Meghan's old social circles, it felt like someone lit a match in a gas-soaked room. Meghan wasn't just upset, she was furious. People close to her said she paced those marble floors with her phone in her hand, firing off messages with tight, clipped anger, her steps sharp, her tone tense. It was clear she wasn't treating this as gossip. To her, this was betrayal. After everything I've done for that family, she reportedly muttered under her breath, disbelief twisting into anger. But if Meghan learned one thing from her Hollywood days, it was this. When someone tries to write your story, you grab the pen back and flip the script. And that's exactly what she intended to do. Within hours, her team, the same polished PR force that guided her shift from Royal Duchess to digital brand powerhouse, was fully activated. Crisis meetings, late-night strategy calls, tight-lipped no-comment answers from reps. Everything hinted that something major was forming behind the curtain. Behind the scenes, Meghan was shaping what one insider dramatically called her counter-narrative. The mission: reclaim the spotlight before anyone else had the chance to bend the headlines. And in true Meghan style, she didn't choose a small move. Rumours spread fast that she reached out to a top streaming executive about a bold new project, a documentary-style reclaiming of her truth, not just a clapback, a full-scale brand reset, a modern Duchess refusing to be shaken by old gossip. But there was one problem. Fergie wasn't budging. Palace watchers said the Duchess of York, now enjoying a surprising second wave of popularity thanks to her blunt honesty and warm charm, refused to apologise. When asked about the drama, she simply smiled and said, "Oh, I don't think anyone should fear the truth, do you?" And that one single line sent shockwaves everywhere. The tabloids exploded. Social media boiled over with side-by-side comparisons. The Duchess who stayed versus the Duchess who strayed. For Meghan, it was a nightmare. Her carefully curated image, soft neutrals, calm statements, wellness, compassion, California warmth, was being shredded in real time. Then the real gut punch arrived. Someone, no one knew who, began leaking old Hollywood photos, private events, glamorous yacht shots, party nights that were innocent but looked chaotic out of context. Online detectives didn't care about context. They cared about clicks and drama. Suddenly, Meghan's past, buried, reshaped, rebranded, was being picked apart frame by frame. Inside Montecito, the tension grew thick. Harry was reportedly furious, not just at the palace or Fergie, but at how every move they made triggered another avalanche. He'd tried to shield Meghan before, from the press, from rumours, from relentless headlines. But this time felt different. This time felt personal. The Windsors had closed ranks, and the woman he loved was once again the outsider, standing in the line of fire. Still, Meghan didn't retreat. If they wanted a PR battle, she'd deliver one. A series of calculated appearances followed. Meghan was spotted leaving a private women's leadership luncheon in LA, looking serene and confident, smiling at cameras as if nothing around her was burning. Her style immaculate, calm, polished, the opposite of rattled. But behind that smooth smile was defiance. "Every time they come for me, I come back stronger," she reportedly told a friend. And honestly, that's how she built her brand. Resilience. If the British press thought a few harsh headlines would make her fold, they underestimated the woman who walked away from royalty itself. But even then, the cracks were showing. Fergie kept her charm tour going. She appeared on daytime TV, sharing stories that danced right on the edge between sweet nostalgia and subtle shade. She didn't say names, but her stories about royal newcomers wanting crowns before earning them, yeah, nobody needed subtitles to understand. The audience laughed. The clip went viral, and suddenly the focus shifted, not on what Fergie said, but on how Meghan reacted. If this was Gen Z commentary, the label would have been slay. Entertainment shows ran split screens. Meghan's tight smile at a charity event versus Fergie's amused grin on daytime TV. The internet picked sides. Team Fergie trended. Duchess versus Duchess hit 1 million posts in a single day. Inside Montecito, Meghan's PR team knew exactly what was happening. The narrative flipped. Meghan was no longer being seen as the unfairly targeted woman. She was now being painted as the aggressor, the manipulator, the Hollywood Duchess who couldn't take criticism. So Meghan made a decision that shocked even her closest advisors. She would speak. On camera, not a documentary, not a podcast, something bigger. Insiders whispered that the project would be raw, emotional, personal, a conversation about truth, womanhood, and reclaiming your story from lies. It was meant to silence the whispers, but in the royal world, silence often speaks louder than words, and Meghan's voice, no matter how perfectly filmed, always carried the risk of becoming another explosive headline. And just as Meghan moved into pre-production, something unexpected shifted. Fergie's allies started talking, old acquaintances, former royal aides, friends who remembered Meghan's early days in the fold, and their whispers were not flattering. What started as one woman trying to defend her image spiraled into a full-blown media battlefield. 2 duchesses, 2 legacies, 2 narratives colliding in the spotlight. But the real question wasn't who would win. It was who would survive the fallout. Because as one palace insider reportedly said, Fergie's been through hell and back. Meghan's still learning that when you fight the crown always fights back harder. And by the time Meghan's Reclaiming Her Truth project hit pre-production, the storm outside her Montecito mansion was already brewing into something far bigger and far more dangerous than anyone expected. If you want more pieces like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment to keep the series going.
She was 37 when she gave birth to her son. Now, that is quite old in terms of having a baby.
A faded black and white photograph, smudged at the edges and smelling faintly of old smoke, has surfaced from a dimly lit salsa club of the early 2000s, and it now threatens to unravel Meghan Markle's entire public persona. Analysts who have scrutinized the image claim a startling revelation. The people captured in that frame are now in their 50s, yet Meghan appears to exist in perfect age harmony with them, as if the years had been flattened, erased, or rewritten entirely. If this discovery is accurate, the Duchess's claimed 1981 birth year collapses. She may have shaved nearly a decade off her age, concealing a past that no royal historian could have imagined. But age is only the tip of a far darker iceberg. Prince William and the royal security team have stumbled upon a gaping black hole in her personal records, a span from 1999 to 2003, where Meghan's trail disappears entirely from public, legal, and digital records. Why the frantic decision to erase Rachel Meghan from Archie's birth certificate? This was no act of vanity or a display of entitlement. It was a calculated attempt to sever the digital and legal threads connecting her present identity to a hidden past. A past that may have included a medical record linked to a phantom child, never acknowledged by the world. A secret carefully buried for decades. Could Meghan's famously tight media control suppress the truth indefinitely? Or is the storm finally breaking through her defences? The prolonged silence of King Charles and Prince William may signal either helplessness or the calm before a deliberate, legalised onslaught designed to restore transparency to a monarchy teetering on the edge. And yet the central question remains, who was Meghan before the palace gates swallowed her into royal history? The answer, for now, rests in a black and white photograph with frayed edges, tucked inside an envelope carrying only a Chicago postmark and no return address. William, donning white cotton gloves, lifted the photo with a caution befitting radioactive material, holding it under a magnifying glass with a concentration born of decades of observation. The grain of the old camera captured a smoke-thick club, scattered cheap cocktails, and the buzz of laughter and music. At the centre stood Meghan Markle, laughing with abandon, her wild, radiant smile stretching across her face, head thrown back, arms draped casually over the shoulders of friends surrounding her. William moved the magnifying glass deliberately, scanning each face. He didn't need digital enhancement. His eyes, sharpened by a lifetime of observation, were sufficient. The man to Meghan's right bore curly hair and crow's feet, unmistakably in his 30s. To her left, a woman holding a cigarette carried the mature, textured skin of a woman well into middle age. William cross-referenced names in his files. Sarah K. and David M., born 1970 and 1972. The photo dated to roughly 2001. They were adults, fully grown and worldly. Meghan, standing among them, was not a youthful 20-year-old college student as official records claimed. Her posture, facial structure, and worldly demeanour betrayed no age gap. She wasn't the youngest. She was their contemporary. The truth was inescapable. She belonged to Gen X, born in the early 70s, not the 80s millennials she presented to the world. Silence filled the room, heavy as the air of a courtroom awaiting judgment. William sat down, red ink pen in hand, circling Meghan's face decisively. The loop felt like a clean surgical cut, separating her current glamorous shell from the woman captured on that fraying bromide. This wasn't simple vanity, nor a Hollywood trick to prolong youth. It was systematic identity fraud on an audacious scale. If Meghan was truly 8 to 10 years older than her official record suggested, the entire narrative of her life prior to meeting Harry collapsed into a sprawling web of deception. Worse still, the age discrepancy carved a dangerous void, a gap in her history that might conceal unacknowledged relationships or events too explosive to surface. William walked to the corkboard, pinning the photo to 2001. Next to it stretched an expanse of blank white space, reaching all the way to 2003. That emptiness now resembled a crime scene, each inch screaming omission, concealment, and intentional erasure. A woman does not naturally vanish on paper, but she can be made to. Meghan's gaze in that image seemed to challenge him, daring him to pierce the carefully constructed facade. Half a world away, In her Montecito mansion, Meghan felt the weight of inevitability. The California sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, but it could not pierce the chill crawling along her spine. Frozen in the center of the expansive living room, she held a copy of the very same photo William scrutinized in London. It had arrived via her highly encrypted mailbox, known to only a handful of trusted aides. Fear, not panic, manifested as stillness. She retreated to the bathroom, locked the door, and confronted herself in the mirror. Trembling fingers traced the corners of her eyes, where crow's feet had been concealed through meticulous Botox treatments. The photograph was a ghost, a reminder of the 1999 to 2003 years she had purged from human memory. During those 4 years, Meghan Markle, born 1981, had ceased to exist publicly. No tax filings, no addresses, no media appearances. It was as if she had evaporated, but the truth was she had lived under a different identity, assuming responsibilities no one knew. She flicked a gold lighter. The flame danced along the corner of the photograph, devouring the youthful face she had carefully curated. Ashes fell into the marble sink, black and grimy, swirling with water that carried away the remnants. Yet Meghan knew, paper burns, but digital history persists. Back in London, William faced a perspex board, plotting her life in visual detail. From 1981 to 1998, her story was full: family photos, school images, acting roles, social activism. Then, a gaping black void from 1999 to 2003 stared back. Investigators had scoured Los Angeles and beyond. The result? Nothing. Zero. No trace of a Meghan Markle born in 1981. It was impossible for a woman so fame-obsessed to vanish voluntarily unless she was hiding something monumental. Only one explanation remained. She had orchestrated a disappearance to conceal an event so critical it demanded seclusion, erasure, and a new identity. William's eyes landed on a scribbled margin note: medical records. If Meghan were truly born in 1973 or 1974, then by 2001, she would have been 27 or 28, prime age for marriage and childbirth. That 4-year gap wasn't a hiatus, it was a grave, possibly containing a forgotten husband or even a child never publicly acknowledged. With a heavy hand, William slashed a black cross across the 1999 to 2003 void. He no longer sought Meghan of 1981. He sought the unknown woman living in Los Angeles under a different life, a hidden timeline, and a concealed responsibility. The next shock came not from paparazzi or spies, but from a seemingly mundane administrative paper: Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor's birth certificate. William's gaze locked on the mother field. The name Rachel Meghan had vanished, replaced only by the impersonal title Royal Highness Duchess of Sussex. Media pundits had decried this move as arrogance, a clumsy attempt to assert Diana-level status, but William, armed with the 2001 photo and the 4-year void, recognised a more chilling reality. Removing Rachel Meghan wasn't about honour or ego. It was a surgical digital severance. The birth name is the master key. Leaving it intact could have linked automated population systems back to old records bearing the same personal identifier. Despite the falsified birth year, Meghan was terrified, paralysed by a fear most would never imagine. She dreaded that some cold, emotionless algorithm in California might accidentally link Archie's mother, Rachel Meghan, to another Rachel Meghan buried in the archives, a woman hospitalised to give birth in 2001, a Rachel Meghan who had signed divorce papers or adoption forms during the missing years, deliberately erasing her real identity and leaving only the royal title behind. She was trying to build a firewall, a digital wall strong enough to keep her past buried forever. Archie's records had to exist as an island, untraceable, independent of any dark threads from years she had expunged. Yet in trying to conceal the truth, she was leaving undeniable evidence of guilt. Only a fugitive burns the bridge behind them. William crumpled the birth certificate in his hand, feeling the paper's fragile texture. Names could be erased, documents could be manipulated, but DNA, the unchangeable code of life, is forever. He opened a locked cabinet and pulled out a specialized satellite phone, bypassing assistants and secretaries entirely. A practiced sequence connected him directly to the field investigation team stationed in Los Angeles. After 2 rings, The only response was deep, uneven breathing, accompanied by the distant hum and honking of a bustling city street. The hunting protocol was now activated. William's voice cut through the static, calm but unyielding, each word a precise command. She left fingerprints on this scene by altering the birth certificate. Focus on private maternity hospitals in the LA suburbs that closed after 2003. Locate the original records. Find the child. He ended the call and tossed the crumpled certificate onto the dimly lit table, the royal title mocking him from its sterile formality. The glamorous mask of the Duchess of Sussex was about to be torn away. Outside, lightning jagged across the London sky, heralding a storm that mirrored the one approaching Meghan in California. At 10 a.m., golden sunlight bathed her Montecito garden, but inside her sealed office, the air was thick with tension, almost choking in its intensity. Meghan paced back and forth like a restless predator, high heels clicking sharply against polished wood. On the wall-mounted TV screens, major news channels tentatively questioned the leaked Northwestern photo. The story had not been confirmed, but suspicion was spreading like wildfire, uncontrolled, unstoppable. She knew William wasn't merely staring at the image. He was hunting, digging into the bones of her past. And when a future heir to the throne starts digging, he does not stop until every secret is unearthed. Meghan paused, gripping the edge of her desk, inhaling sharply. She could not delete history, but she could manipulate the present. Her fingers dialed her closest media contact, a seasoned operator known as the Sussex mouthpiece. "Activate the victim protocol," she commanded, voice cold and unwavering. "Leak a story immediately. The palace is refusing security for Lilibet because of her skin colour. Push discrimination. Make the public outraged enough that they ignore old photos or my birth year entirely." This was the infamous control loop. When an unfavourable truth surfaces, manufacture a bigger, more emotional lie to crush it. Meghan's goal: turn herself into the victim, forcing William to switch from offence to defence. Within hours, the headlines exploded. Social media became a frenzy. Hashtags supporting Meghan climbed to the global top trending list, London abuzz with speculation. William observed quietly, advisers flustered, urging a public statement. He raised a hand, silence falling. He wasn't watching the screens. He was tracking the map of Los Angeles spread across his desk. "Do not get distracted," William said, voice terrifyingly calm. "She is creating noise to mask our movements. The louder she screams, the closer we are to her critical vulnerability." He pointed to a red-circled location, a decrepit records warehouse in suburban Los Angeles, once a private clinic that had gone bankrupt in 2004. "Does she truly think an angry mob on Twitter will stop me?" William's smirk was ice-sharp. "Send the recovery team there. But do not look for the living. Look for the dead papers." In the warehouse, the smell of mould and decayed paper assaulted the investigators' senses. They weren't hackers. They were forensic document experts, headlamps slicing through darkness as they navigated towering, rusted shelves, each groaning under decades of forgotten records. Their mission: find a needle in a haystack, guided only by Meghan Markle's original social security number, the immutable key to her identity, impervious to name changes or falsified birth years. "Found it?" an agent whispered from the shadows of aisle 14, holding a rotting cardboard box scrawled with black marker, 2001, West Hollywood Zone. They carefully pried it open. Yellowed files, stacked like forgotten tombstones, spilled out. Sheet by sheet, the team cross-referenced the SSN, every moment taut with anticipation. Then it appeared. Not a standard medical chart, but a backup copy of a certificate of live birth. The agent's flashlight illuminated the most critical details. Mother's name: Rachel Meghan Markle. Birth date: August 4th, 1973, not 1981. The team leader photographed the document, hands trembling slightly. This was the smoking gun. confirmation of two massive deceptions. Meghan had cheated 8 years off her age and had given birth to a daughter in 2001, precisely during the black hole years she had attempted to erase. Sirens wailed in the distance as a black car roared toward the warehouse, Meghan's fixers rushing to destroy the evidence. But they were too late. William's team sealed the documents and retreated through a pre-planned back exit. A high-speed chase tore through the LA night. No gunfire, only the raw tension of vehicles tearing along empty highways. Back in London, the briefcase containing the birth certificate was guarded like nuclear codes. Images transmitted via secure lines confirmed the retrieval. William nodded once. No celebration, only cold acknowledgement. The confrontation was set. High-level, secure video call between Kensington Palace and Montecito. Meghan appeared on screen, sharp, defiant, still playing the victim. Harry beside her, weary, confused. "What do you want, William?" Meghan asked, voice steely. William did not speak. He gestured to an envelope placed deliberately on the desk. From it, he revealed 2 documents. First, Archie's birth certificate, name removed. Second, the 2001 certificate of live birth, just recovered. Full name Rachel Meghan Markle. Birth year 1973. "You didn't remove the name Rachel Meghan from Archie's birth certificate to be like Diana," William said, calm, but each word hammering truth into the room. "You removed it because you feared the data system." Meghan paled, confidence fracturing. "If you had left Rachel Meghan on Archie's papers, the federal system would have detected a duplicate. Same SSN, same name, 2 different birth years." Harry turned to his wife, eyes wide, shock spreading. He had never known the truth of 2001, never realised she had been born in 1973. "Your wife was not born in 1981, William said softly, but firmly. "She is nearly 10 years older, and more importantly, she had a daughter in 2001, a child left behind to build a perfect facade for entry into this family." "You're lying!" Meghan screamed, lunging at the screen. "That's a fake record! You forged it!" William held the certificate up. "It bears the raised seal of California from 20 years ago. If you want, I can invite that daughter for a DNA test. She lives in Ohio under a different name, but adoption records remain intact." Harry rose abruptly, staring at the numbers. 1973 and 2001. Everything clicked. Ruthlessly, Meghan's carefully constructed story of youth, the gaps in her past, the haste to erase her name from Archie's documents. It all made sense. She hadn't lied about a minor detail. She had lied about the very foundation of their marriage. The woman he once called his wife had become a stranger in the harshest sense. Meghan collapsed into the overstuffed armchair, her body slumping with exhaustion, her hands pressed to her face as if she could physically shield herself from the reality she had so long avoided. There were no tears left to fake, no calculated sobs to appeal to the public or the press, only the naked, raw exposure of a woman laid bare by her own ambition. Every memory, every careful construction of an identity she had fought to maintain had crumbled beneath the weight of facts too stubborn to ignore. The aftermath of that call didn't arrive with sirens, flashing lights, or hordes of journalists. It arrived as a chilling silence that wrapped Buckingham Palace in a suffocating stillness. Each corridor, each echoing hall seemed to mourn in quiet solidarity, bearing witness to a reckoning that no amount of spin or charisma could avert. The following morning, a brief, stark statement appeared, unadorned by any royal insignia, stripped of any flourish that could soften the blow. Its austerity was deliberate, a scalpel cutting through the facade. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex will permanently withdraw from all public life. All titles and royal patronages are revoked effective immediately. The palace will make no further comment. The words were a verdict, a corporate and social execution. Meghan's carefully curated brand, meticulously crafted over decades of fame and influence, evaporated in an instant. No crown, no royal audience, no gilded privileges. She was reduced to a former actress, exposed with every shadowed secret, every hidden misstep, laid bare before a world she had believed she could charm into compliance. Yet, the hardest blow did not come from headlines or social media outrage. It came quietly. In the vast, sun-soaked Montecito villa, where the walls had once held the echoes of laughter, whispers, and promises. Harry moved with precision, his motions deliberate, measured. He packed his bags without a word, every movement underscored by a silent judgment. Meghan, seated in her chair clutching the tattered birth certificate, was frozen in disbelief. He didn't glance at her, didn't offer a single whisper of comfort or explanation. The air was thick with betrayal. The room carried the weight of broken trust, the remains of a love suffocated by layers of deceit. If love had ever existed in their home, it had been strangled quietly, leaving only ghostly traces of what might have been. Harry left the villa without looking back, sliding into the waiting black car with the silence of someone who had carried a burden far too heavy to share. He returned to England alone, carrying the remnants of a marriage built on fiction and half-truths. The distance between continents mirrored the chasm that now existed between truth and fiction, past and present, loyalty and betrayal. London greeted him with a grey, rainy afternoon. Inside his study, William watched the flames consume the final copies of the investigative files. He didn't keep them for leverage, blackmail, or public display. Each page, each photograph, each notation of research and cross-reference was being destroyed because the mission had reached its conclusion. The lies had been exposed. The puzzle had been solved. Ashes floated upwards, merging with the rain-soaked sky outside, a visual representation of truth reclaiming its place. Kate entered the room quietly, placing a gentle hand on William's shoulder. "Is it finished?" she asked, voice soft, but filled with the gravity of the moment. William's gaze lingered on the floating ash. "The truth has been returned to its proper place," he replied, calm, resolute. "The ghost is gone." Half a world away in the spacious, yet suddenly hollow Montecito villa, Meghan faced her reflection. She attempted the famous, disarming smile that had once conquered Hollywood, that had once captivated the royal family. But in the mirror, the reflection staring back was unyielding. The years, the solitude, the unrelenting exposure of truth had left marks no makeup could hide. She was 52 years old now, and the veneer of glamour could no longer mask the reality. She had lost everything in the pursuit of an identity she could never fully claim. Her trembling fingers reached toward the cold glass, brushing against it as though she could physically touch the life she had tried to rewrite. And then, as if acknowledging the gravity of her own missteps, the lights flickered and went out, leaving her alone with shadows, silence, and the inescapable weight of her choices. Around her, the children, Archie and Lilibet, were swept into the unseen vortex created by adult ambition and document fraud. Their innocence, previously shielded by the protective layers of family and status, now hovered on the edge of a truth they were too young to understand. Questions that would haunt her for years formed themselves silently in the darkness. How would Archie and Lilibet understand the truth about their mother? How could they navigate a world where lies were intricately woven into the foundations of their very identity? Would the royal family extend arms of protection to ensure their safety and emotional well-being? Or would these children bear the weight of previous generations' mistakes alone? Meghan remained motionless, seated by the window, the cold marble floor pressing against her heels, the once vibrant villa now echoing with memories and failures. The golden sun of Montecito streamed through the curtains, mocking the gloom inside. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling shutters, mingling with the distant sound of the Pacific surf. The villa, once a sanctuary, now felt like a mausoleum for dreams that could never be revived. Every wall seemed to whisper accusations. Every shadow seemed to lean in closer, reminding her of the lies, the deceptions, and the carefully orchestrated erasures she had believed would protect her. She thought of the birth certificate, the one piece of paper that had held the power to unravel her life, her carefully constructed narrative. Clutching it, she remembered the teams of investigators, the frantic searches through forgotten archives, and the finality of William's revelation. Every lie she had told, every attempt to manipulate data, every calculated move to hide her past, it had all collapsed in a single moment of exposure. The reflection in the mirror was merciless. The ambition that had driven her to falsify identity and rewrite history had left her utterly alone. Her mind spiraled further. She thought of the headlines. the hashtags, the digital uproar that had once been her weapon to manipulate the narrative. Now, that same media machinery felt empty, impotent, unable to protect her from the consequences of her own actions. She had turned herself into a character of fiction, a story meant to enchant, deceive, and control. But fiction, when confronted by the immovable weight of reality, offers no refuge. Meghan's fingers trembled as she traced the contours of her face in the mirror. She could no longer ignore the passage of time, the evidence of age, and the harsh truths of her choices. The vanity and performance that had once been her armour were now nothing more than a fragile facade, incapable of shielding her from the truth that had finally caught up. The villa felt emptier than ever, the echo of her past mistakes louder than any applause she had ever received. In the distance, the children played, unaware of the invisible lines of history and deception that now intertwined with their young lives. Their laughter, once a source of joy, now carried a haunting undercurrent, symbols of innocence caught in the aftermath of ambition and falsehood. Meghan realised that the consequences of her actions would extend far beyond herself. They would ripple through the lives of her children, shaping their understanding of identity, truth, and trust. The storm outside intensified, rain hammering against the windows, wind howling through the trees. It was as if nature itself had recognised the magnitude of her fall. Meghan, seated before the mirror, understood with a bitter clarity that there was no return, no reset, no way to undo the choices she had made. Every plan, every manipulation, every carefully hidden secret had led to this point of irrevocable isolation. And yet, even in the midst of despair, a faint, bitter recognition emerged. She had glimpsed the power of the truth and the price of attempting to rewrite it. She was alone, stripped of titles, stripped of influence, stripped of the carefully constructed narrative she had relied upon. The reflection staring back was unflinching, the consequence of ambition untempered by honesty, the reckoning of a life built on deception. Now, the future remained uncertain for those she left behind. Archie and Lilibet would grow up with the legacy of their mother's choices imprinted upon their lives. The royal family, resilient and enduring, would watch over the bloodline, attempting to shield innocence from the turbulence of the previous generation's mistakes. Meghan could only confront the empty villa, the mirror, and the cold, unyielding truth that ambition alone could not rewrite history. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Let us know what you think about the unfolding events, the royal revelations, and the choices made by the Duchess of Sussex. Don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth stories and exclusive updates. Click the next video appearing on your screen. You won't want to miss what happens next in this dramatic saga.
You might have heard lots of rumours swirling about the couple, especially over the weekend, that their relationship is on the rocks. It's been suggested the couple are taking some time apart.
There is the hope amongst certain people at the palace that when the marriage breaks down or breaks up,
Sussex are reportedly on a trial separation after months of fighting. Sources close to the pair say the time apart is in the hope of rebuilding their bond after recent humiliation and deals falling through.
They say every fairy tale has cracks, but this one, it all started with a single email, one sentence, one tiny slip of truth that Prince Harry never meant for the world to see. For years, everyone believed Harry would defend Meghan Markle until the end of time. He gave up his home, his titles, his family, even his future, all for her. But now, the storm isn't coming from Meghan. It's coming from him. Palace insiders claim Harry recently made a confession, one that blindsided Meghan and exposed a fault line running straight under their marriage. And it all goes back to February 2018, a single email Harry sent that eventually became legal evidence in court. On the surface, the email looked harmless, professional, protective, but hidden between the lines. A single sentence froze royal insiders in their tracks. A sentence that didn't match the timeline, didn't match the truth. A sentence that changed everything. Here's the problem. In February 2018, there was no baby, no bump, no announcement, no rumours. So why was Harry writing like one already existed? And if a baby really did exist, why was no one else able to confirm it? Tonight, we pull that thread because once you understand what that email truly meant, you'll never see their marriage the same way again. Was Harry protecting Meghan, or was he hiding a secret? Our players, classic yet messy.
Family relations will ever be the same ever again. But if there were a divorce, it would be a more dignified way of extricating him from the situation.
Harry, emotional, loyal, heart first, logic later, raw. Meghan, magnetic, strategic, camera ready, every inch the modern fairy tale queen. In public, they were two rebels rewriting royalty, lovers against the world. Behind palace doors, chaos. Whispered worries, panicked schedules, late-night meetings, a constant sense that something didn't add up. And at the centre, Harry, obsessed, pressing, consumed by that one sentence, racing the clock before the baby arrived. Wait, what? Because in February 2018, Meghan wasn't pregnant. Not publicly, not privately, not medically. Yet Harry wrote that sentence as if a child already existed, a man sprinting against time, counting down to something no one else could see. The impossible timeline.
They went over to America. They were going to be a power couple. They were going to be the next Michelle and Barack Obama or the next George and Amal Clooney, and that has not worked out.
Harry shot that email in February 2018. They married in May 2018. The public pregnancy announcement didn't drop until October 2018. 8 months later, but the email made it sound like the baby was supposed to arrive before the wedding. Think about that. An unborn child supposedly existing months before anyone even knew. The math didn't match, not even a little. So now the question becomes, what timeline was Harry even operating on? Receipt number 2, palace confusion. Inside the royal offices, staff were stunned. Meetings went from routine to urgent in a heartbeat. Schedules got rewritten.
Well, of course, they have poisoned the pond to such an extent, but she has poisoned it irretrievably.
Priorities flipped. Even the Queen quietly asked for clarification. Yet there were no medical reports, no appointments, no confirmations. Just Harry repeating the same phrase like a broken record. It needs to be settled before the baby arrives. And here's the kicker. No one wanted to say it out loud. The only person who ever mentioned a baby, Meghan. Harry wasn't protecting the institution. He was protecting a story. But whose story was it, really? Receipt number 3, the vanishing crisis. By March 2018, just weeks later, everything changed. Panic evaporated. The rush stopped. The urgency disappeared.
I'm reading in these papers, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they've split, they're taking time apart. They've been humiliated and broken by their failures. And, the story was everywhere. It was in the US, it was in Britain, it was here, it was in India, it was Pakistan. I mean, everywhere.
The baby emergency that had thrown every royal schedule into chaos suddenly vanished. Like someone hit a switch overnight. Insiders quietly reveal Meghan told Harry she had lost the baby, but the timelines didn't match any real pregnancy, not even remotely. A crisis appeared out of nowhere and vanished just as fast, which brings up the question that haunted everyone inside the palace. Was there ever a baby at all? Receipt number 4. The 3 masks. People inside the palace began noticing a pattern, almost like Meghan had 3 different versions of herself. Each one deployed perfectly depending on what she needed. The first mask, the victim. Soft voice, wide eyes, emotional tone, instant sympathy. Harry, already wounded from his past, defended her without hesitation. The second mask, the partner. Warm, united, us against the world. Harry followed wherever she pointed. The third mask, the star. Confident, radiant, adored by cameras while Harry faded into the background. The timing of each mask? Perfect. Every emotional shift unlocked a reaction. In Harry, she didn't need chains. She had emotions. But what happens when the masks stop working? Receipt number 5. The wedding that couldn't be stopped. The engagement moved at record-breaking speed. 6 months. Unheard of for a royal wedding. Harry insisted it happen quickly, urgently, frantically even. Every reason pointed back to the same phrase. Before the baby arrives. That line was the engine behind every rushed decision. It wasn't a wedding. It was a deadline the palace never fully understood, one that changed the course of Harry's life forever. And here's the wildest part, we're not even at the most shocking detail yet. When that email resurfaced online, social media exploded. People tweeted, "Harry knew about a baby months before she was pregnant." TikTok creators reenacted the email dramatically. "Before the baby arrives," then cut to an empty pregnancy pillow. Imagine rushing a royal wedding over a pregnancy that never existed. Receipt number 6. The whispers in the hallways. By April 2018, the palace was buzzing with rumours nobody could confirm. Staff whispered behind closed doors, security officers raised eyebrows, and aides tiptoed around a single unspoken truth. The email had set off a chain reaction. Every royal calendar, every announcement, every personal interaction suddenly had a hidden tension behind it. Harry's obsession with that one sentence wasn't just paranoia, it was rewriting reality. Insiders reveal that private meetings became mini-investigations. Questions about health, timing, and plans dominated every discussion. And yet, every official answer circled back to one truth. There were no medical records, no confirmations, no signs of a pregnancy. Just a story, repeated quietly in private, the phrase echoing in every corridor. Before the baby arrives, staff were stuck in a loop of confusion, torn between loyalty and logic. Receipt number 7. The media frenzy. By mid-2018, reporters began sensing the tension. They noticed rushed appearances, oddly timed interviews, subtle gestures caught on camera.
Some other famous people in the USA, Meghan Markle and, of course, her husband, the Ginger. What do you make of reports in Vanity Fair that Meghan's PR team have reportedly spruiked a potential book about her life post-divorce from Prince Harry, which is a bit awkward since the couple haven't even split up?
Social media influencers exploded with speculation. Was Meghan pregnant? Was Harry hiding something? Every online comment, every tweet, every viral TikTok added fuel to a fire the palace couldn't control. The public didn't just want gossip, they demanded clarity, yet clarity was nowhere in sight. Receipt number 8, the invisible pressure. Behind closed doors, Harry was caught between duty and desperation. Palace insiders say he oscillated between fierce protection of Meghan and relentless secrecy.
He never trashed her, he never abused her.
Every decision, every move, every smile captured on camera was measured against that one invisible countdown, the sentence that haunted him every day.
Never said anything nasty about her. He's hidden a lot of her secrets.
Before the baby arrives. It wasn't just a line in an email, it was a ticking clock that shaped choices, relationships, and loyalty in ways nobody outside the palace could ever understand. And so, the question lingers, louder than any public statement or viral post. What exactly was Harry racing against? Because once you trace the timeline, connect the whispers, and decode the obsession, you realise the whole story wasn't just about love, it was about a secret only Harry could carry. And the timeline still doesn't add up, not even a little.
So what Radar is saying is that they are taking a temporary time apart just so that Harry can try to find... Harry does not like the chaos of Los Angeles. Harry does not like the pursuits of Hollywood.
Memes spread like wildfire when the palace asked for medical proof, beyond Meghan casually handing over a Starbucks cup. Hollywood loves scandal, but they hate a scandal they can't control. Would you believe the story if you heard that one line? Drop a comment below. This wasn't gossip, it was structural collapse. The palace felt misled, staff felt manipulated, allies quietly stepped back. And Harry finally started noticing the cracks. Montecito looked like freedom at first, but when the cameras went off, the silence got louder. He wasn't a prince anymore. Not a hero, not a rebel. Just an accessory brand. Deals stalled. Netflix raised eyebrows. Hollywood whispered, "Is any of this even real?" Even Meghan noticed Harry slipping, but she couldn't stop it. Once a man who gave up everything, Harry now questioned what he gave it up for. The whole foundation of his life, the entire shape of his world, felt like it was shifting beneath him. Every smile he gave to the cameras, every word he spoke in interviews, carried a weight nobody else could see. It wasn't just a public performance, it was survival, trying to hold together a story that might not have been real at all. This email wasn't just a line in a document. It was the blueprint of their entire relationship, urgency, fear, pressure, emotion. If the baby storyline was misunderstood, or worse, never real, then every choice Harry made afterward was built on sand. The rushed wedding, the palace fights, the dramatic exit, the move to America, all of it. Each move, each decision, each sacrifice, now comes under a new light. Was it love, or was it carefully orchestrated timing, manipulation, and obsession with appearances? And here's the chilling part. If they could rewrite one timeline, what else did they rewrite? Every public appearance, every story, every tear and laugh could have been part of a larger script nobody else knew existed. Because once one story cracks, the whole fairy tale collapses. What seemed spontaneous or heartfelt might have been calculated, built around a sentence Harry never meant anyone to see. So here's what we learned. One email exposed a secret timeline. One sentence revealed the pressure behind the wedding. One moment changed Harry's life forever. So now the question is simple. Has Harry finally seen the truth, or is he still living inside the version she built? Drop your thoughts below. Comment if you think she planned this from the start. And if you love your scandal served cold, hit like, subscribe, share this video, and buckle up, because this story is just getting started.
For the racism, which apparently was aimed at Meghan Markle, which is just completely absurd. But by far the most sickening part of this show for me was the constant use of Harry's late mother, Princess Diana, to stoke sympathy for Meghan.
The public spotlight surrounding one of the world's most debated figures is burning brighter than ever, and the broadcaster who warned this day would come is now watching events unfold almost exactly as he predicted. That broadcaster is Piers Morgan. Whether people support him or strongly disagree with him, his long-running criticism has remained impossible to ignore. For years, he repeated the same warnings, while much of the mainstream media dismissed him, challenged him, and often laughed off his claims. But now, as controversy keeps building, many are starting to revisit those warnings with fresh eyes. Today, we're breaking down 10 striking claims Piers Morgan has pushed for years, claims that brought intense backlash, claims that many rejected outright, and claims that are now being re-examined as public events continue to raise difficult questions. Stay with this all the way to number 1, because it changes the way this entire story is viewed. Let's get straight into it. Truth 10. The contradiction that raised serious questions. This is the moment many believe everything became impossible to ignore. Just weeks ago, Meghan sat down with close friend Jamie Kern-Lima for what was clearly presented as an intimate and deeply personal conversation. The soft lighting, simple setting, and stripped-back presentation all delivered one message: authenticity. Looking directly into the camera, she said she was living the happiest and most fulfilled chapter of her life. She spoke warmly about her children, praised her marriage, and described her California life in glowing terms. She even compared Harry to a heroic figure, describing him as her protector and constant support. That timeline matters, because only weeks later, on April 25th, she shared a message to millions of followers about bringing to an end the hardest 7 years of her life. She posted it twice on the same day. Piers Morgan immediately pointed out the timing. Counting backwards 7 years lands directly in 2018, the year she married Prince Harry and entered royal life. For Piers, this wasn't random. He has repeatedly argued that Meghan's public messaging is layered and deliberate. In his view, every phrase is crafted carefully enough to spark speculation while avoiding direct explanation. That leaves one unavoidable question. How do you go from publicly describing your life as your happiest ever to describing that exact same period as your hardest chapter just weeks later? Both versions cannot comfortably exist at once. This is the question Piers has consistently raised, not emotional accusations, but the basic journalistic test of consistency. Do the facts line up? In his view, they do not. Truth 9. The royal identity she supposedly left behind. This is another issue Piers has repeatedly emphasized. In January 2020, Meghan and Harry made the decision to step away from royal duties. It was presented as a clear and final separation from institutional life. They stepped back from official responsibilities and reshaped their future outside the monarchy. Yet critics argue that royal symbolism has remained deeply woven into public branding ever since. Recent commentary from supporters referring to Meghan in royal-style terms only reignited this debate. Piers has long argued that this reflects a carefully maintained connection to the prestige of royal association, even after officially leaving that role behind. His criticism centers on what he sees as contradiction. If the institution was something to leave behind, why continue benefiting from its identity, symbolism, and recognition? Piers has also pointed to moments where Meghan has leaned into royal framing during public appearances and interviews. His argument remains simple. You cannot reject the institution while continuing to rely on its status whenever it adds influence or market value. According to this criticism, the public has grown increasingly frustrated with what appears to be an effort to occupy both positions at once. Truth 8. The Serena Williams promotion that backfired. This became one of the most discussed promotional moments surrounding Meghan's lifestyle brand. Her Mother's Day collection was positioned as premium luxury, elegant candles, gourmet chocolates, and carefully styled packaging designed to appeal to an upscale audience. To boost attention, products were sent to Serena Williams, one of Meghan's most visible supporters. This should have been an easy win. When someone with Serena's influence showcases your products, that kind of promotion is priceless. But the rollout quickly sparked widespread online reaction. When Serena opened the package, viewers immediately noticed issues with presentation. The chocolates appeared damaged and poorly arranged. Then came the moment that fueled even more discussion. Serena admitted she doesn't even like chocolate. Though she remained supportive, viewers interpreted the moment as awkward rather than enthusiastic. The candle segment only intensified the attention when product descriptions proved difficult to read aloud. The video spread quickly across social media. Piers Morgan's response was immediate. He argued that if even one of the brand's closest allies appeared uncomfortable presenting the products, it reflected broader concerns about execution. Reports of product complaints added further scrutiny, including concerns over packaging quality and underwhelming sales figures. For critics, this highlighted a sharp disconnect between luxury branding and customer experience. Piers framed it as symbolic of a much larger issue: polished image struggling to match commercial delivery. A figure once linked to some of the biggest entertainment contracts in the world was now facing criticism over product basics. That contrast became impossible to ignore. Truth 7. The Ukraine appearance that drew heavy criticism. This issue moved beyond branding into something far more serious. Harry's trip to Ukraine generated immediate global attention. Appearing as a private citizen, he delivered remarks calling for stronger American leadership regarding the conflict. The speech quickly sparked reaction because it touched on active geopolitical tensions while carrying the unavoidable weight of his royal association. Piers Morgan sharply criticized the move. He argued it was inappropriate for someone who voluntarily stepped away from official royal duties to make statements with potential diplomatic implications. The timing made the situation even more sensitive. Only days later, King Charles was preparing for a major diplomatic address before the United States Congress, an event demanding absolute neutrality and careful statecraft. Harry's remarks arriving so close to that moment intensified criticism. To Piers, this reflected a larger contradiction. If Harry chose to leave formal royal responsibilities behind, he should not selectively draw upon that association when it elevates his international platform. That is the issue Piers has repeatedly highlighted. You cannot distance yourself from institutional obligations while still benefiting from the authority and recognition they provide. Reports of frustration surrounding the timing only deepened the perception that this was more than a simple scheduling coincidence. It reflected a deeper unresolved tension between private independence and public royal identity. And according to many observers, that tension has only grown sharper. Truth 6. The King's public signal that said more than words ever could. This is where everything became strikingly visible. Sometimes, the most powerful messages are not delivered through official statements or carefully written press releases. Sometimes, they arrive through silence, a glance missed by many, a moment of visible distance, a gesture absent where one was expected. Those seconds often reveal more than hours of commentary ever could. And this particular moment carried exactly that kind of weight. To many royal observers, it appeared to send a message that could not easily be misunderstood. For Piers Morgan, this was one of the clearest indications yet that the divide between Harry and his family may have reached a point far beyond temporary tension. What happened next became impossible to dismiss as coincidence. It felt deliberate, it felt measured, and it suggested that what has unfolded behind palace walls may be far more serious than the public fully understands. Pay very close attention here, because this was exactly the kind of moment that passes in seconds, but carries the weight of a verdict. A single moment on one of the grandest political stages in the world may have delivered a message louder than any official statement ever could. During King Charles's historic address to Congress, one of the most closely watched royal appearances in recent memory, every word carried weight. Every reference was deliberate. Every historical mention was carefully chosen. The King spoke about the deep connections between Britain and America, pointing to cities across the United States that carry the names of royal figures from history. He mentioned Charleston, named after King Charles II. He mentioned Williamsburg, named after King William. But one name was missing: Harry. On the biggest platform of his reign, standing before the President of the United States and both houses of Congress, while listing examples of his family's historic ties to America, King Charles did not mention his second son at all. Piers Morgan noticed immediately. His reading of the moment was direct and sharp. This was not accidental. This was not a speechwriter oversight. This was, in his view, a deliberate public signal, a carefully measured omission delivered on a world stage. Placed alongside recent developments, it takes on even greater significance. Look at what happened with Prince Andrew. King Charles quietly removed him from public royal life. Titles were stripped, patronages were removed, his official role was erased, and according to people said, to be close to the palace. An increasingly uncomfortable question is now being asked. Could Harry face something similar? Piers has argued that if Charles was prepared to take decisive action with Andrew, the logic for doing the same with Harry becomes harder to dismiss. His reasoning is straightforward. Andrew brought disgrace, yes, but he never publicly dismantled the institution through interviews. He never released a memoir detailing family grievances. He never appeared in global documentaries challenging the monarchy from the inside. Harry did all of that. He openly criticized the institution, spoke extensively about private family tensions, and placed deeply personal conflicts into the global spotlight. That is why Piers believes the conversation is no longer about possibility. It is about whether this outcome has become increasingly likely. Truth 5. The friendship pattern critics keep pointing to. This is where Piers says the deeper pattern becomes visible. He has long argued that the clearest measure of any public figure is not simply who surrounds them, but who disappears from their life over time. And when critics examine Meghan's personal history, they point to repeated fractures in relationships. Family members on her father's side have become estranged. Former close connections have reportedly faded. Several palace staff departures generated enough concern to trigger a formal workplace review during her time as a working royal. One of the most discussed examples remains concerns raised by former Communications Secretary Jason Nauf, who formally documented allegations regarding workplace treatment. For critics, this was significant because it was not anonymous gossip or vague speculation. It was a named complaint presented through formal, internal channels. Piers has repeatedly highlighted this point. He argues that when concerns arise across multiple relationships, family, professional circles, and institutional settings, people naturally begin to notice patterns. This became especially controversial when Meghan launched public content centered on friendship and personal connection. Piers's reaction was immediate. He questioned whether someone facing repeated scrutiny over fractured relationships was well positioned to present lessons on friendship. That criticism struck a nerve because it connected directly to years of existing public discussion. And according to Piers, audiences are beginning to ask harder questions about consistency between public messaging and private history. Truth 4. The immigration issue quietly growing in the background. Piers has described this as one of the most serious unresolved questions surrounding Harry's future. Unlike media controversy or public criticism, this carries legal implications. The issue centers around Harry's own admissions in his memoir regarding past drug use, including references to cocaine, cannabis, and psychedelic substances. Those admissions became central to legal efforts seeking disclosure of his immigration records in the United States. The argument is simple. If information was omitted or inaccurately represented during immigration processes, serious consequences could theoretically follow. A legal organization has pursued access to those records through federal court proceedings, arguing transparency is required given the public nature of Harry's own published admissions. The case has drawn major attention because it moves beyond celebrity commentary into legal process. Court filings, federal rulings, and heavily redacted released documents have only fueled further speculation. The sheer number of redactions sparked widespread questions. What information was withheld? Why was so much protected? And could this issue still carry consequences down the road? Piers has repeatedly stressed that this is not tabloid noise. This is an active legal matter involving real filings, real attorneys, and real scrutiny. That is why he continues to describe it as a quiet but potentially serious pressure point. The clock, according to many watching closely, is still ticking. Truth 3. The financial pressure many believe is approaching. For years, Piers Morgan has argued that money would eventually become the ultimate reality check. Not interviews, not headlines, not titles, the numbers. And according to ongoing speculation, financial sustainability is becoming an increasingly discussed issue. Early after stepping away from royal duties, Harry and Meghan secured massive commercial agreements with major media companies. Those deals created the appearance of limitless opportunity. But several of those arrangements have since ended or changed dramatically. Spotify is no longer part of the picture. Questions continue surrounding future media partnerships. New commercial ventures face scrutiny over performance expectations. That has intensified discussion around long-term sustainability. Observers have pointed to the extraordinary costs associated with maintaining their lifestyle, including security, staffing, travel, and ownership of a high-value Montecito property. This is where local comparisons become particularly interesting. In ultra-wealthy communities like Montecito, multi-million-dollar homes are often extensively renovated to meet neighborhood expectations. That is simply standard practice. Yet critics have repeatedly pointed out that their property has not undergone the kind of large-scale transformation many expected for a household, projecting luxury branding at the highest level. To some, that detail has become symbolic, not because renovation itself matters, but because it raises broader questions about financial priorities and practical realities. Piers sees this as part of a larger reckoning. He has long argued that branding alone cannot indefinitely sustain an image if commercial performance fails to match expectations. At some point, numbers become impossible to ignore, and according to those watching closely, that financial pressure may reveal truths no interview or public statement ever could. The signs, for some observers, are beginning to point toward a future where presentation meets hard reality, and nowhere is that tension more visible than in a property still carrying the unmistakable imprint of a previous era. A home last significantly shaped by a Russian billionaire more than 15 years ago. What is happening in Montecito, according to critics and observers watching from the outside, is not just lifestyle commentary. It is being interpreted as a financial warning sign that can be read without needing anyone to say a word. In communities like that, where wealth is common and expectations are even higher, small details are noticed quickly. the way spending looks, the way assets are maintained, the way lifestyle is sustained over time. And in that environment, some people have reportedly described the couple in blunt terms, not as quietly wealthy, but as the poorest rich people in the room, not as a compliment, not as humility, but as a reflection of perceived financial imbalance within a high-cost lifestyle circle. Critics take that further, arguing that this is what happens when capital is consumed faster than it is replaced, when brand value is prioritized over long-term investment strategy. The estimate being circulated by commentators is simple but striking. Roughly 5 years of financial runway before lifestyle adjustments become unavoidable. And according to that same line of argument, none of the current revenue streams are scaling at the level needed to extend that timeline meaningfully. Piers Morgan has repeated one core idea for years, that when the money starts tightening, the narrative changes completely. And in his view, that moment is no longer theoretical. It is beginning to surface in real time because when financial pressure enters the picture, everything else, branding, messaging, public image, is forced to adjust around it. And that is where Truth 2 comes into focus. Truth 2, the institutional allegations that refused to disappear. This is the part of the story that critics say should never be treated as background noise because it involves one of the most serious formal actions ever taken inside the royal institution. In 2021, Kensington Palace confirmed it was launching a formal investigation into bullying allegations involving Meghan Markle, based on claims raised by multiple staff members. This was not speculation from outside commentators. This was an official palace response. An institution known for avoiding public confrontation had publicly acknowledged enough concern to justify a formal internal review. The timing immediately drew attention. The announcement came just before the release of Meghan and Harry's interview with Oprah Winfrey, a moment already under intense global scrutiny. The palace stated that multiple staff members had come forward and that written communications and internal accounts were part of the review process. Meghan's representatives rejected the framing, describing it as a coordinated attempt to damage her reputation ahead of a high-profile broadcast. But one name kept resurfacing in discussion: Jason Knauf. Knauf, a former communications secretary, had documented concerns in writing during his time at the palace. His emails, later made public, described a pattern of workplace behavior that he said had negatively affected staff morale and well-being. Importantly, these were not anonymous claims. They were formal, documented, and attributed to a named senior staff member. Piers Morgan has consistently pointed to this as a critical distinction. In his view, when an institution that protects its internal structure at almost all costs still feels compelled to open a formal inquiry, that alone signals seriousness. And when that investigation is placed alongside multiple reports of staff turnover, strained professional relationships, and public exits, critics argue a pattern begins to emerge, not isolated incidents, a recurring theme. That is why Piers continues to return to it, because in his framing, it is not about rumor, it is about documented institutional response combined with repeated personnel fallout. And that brings everything directly into Truth 1. Truth 1, the statement that changed everything and cannot be reversed. And here it is, the final point, the one Piers Morgan has described as the moment everything became irreversible in the public debate, the moment he first reacted to Meghan's Oprah interview, the moment that triggered thousands upon thousands of complaints, and the moment that ultimately cost him his position in British broadcasting. He didn't hedge his words, he didn't soften them. He stated clearly that he did not believe her version of events. In his own framing, he even escalated that position by saying he would not believe certain claims, even if they were presented in the simplest possible context. That statement became globally controversial. It divided audiences instantly. Some saw it as unacceptable, others saw it as blunt honesty. But what followed ensured it would never be forgotten. because since that moment, every major development has been measured against that original stance, and critics of Meghan argue that the contradictions keep piling up. She described herself as the happiest she had ever been, then later referenced the hardest 7-year period of her life. She spoke about being overwhelmed by global attention and trolling, while also presenting herself as stepping confidently into new global roles. She spoke about private suffering, public resilience, institutional conflict, personal empowerment, and global reinvention, often within overlapping narratives that shift depending on context. Piers Morgan's core argument has always been rooted in one question: how many of these versions can exist at the same time? Because when placed side by side, critics say they do not align, they collide. And this is where his central critique has remained unchanged for years, that the issue is not isolated statements, but a lack of consistent identity across them. Is she a victim of circumstance or a successful global brand? A private individual seeking peace, or a public figure building an international media presence? A former royal stepping away from scrutiny, or a global personality still tied to royal relevance? Critics argue she attempts to occupy all positions simultaneously, shifting depending on what moment she is speaking in. And that inconsistency, according to Piers, is what eventually collapses under its own weight, because audiences may debate details, but they do not easily accept contradictions that stack too high over time. And that is where the broader reaction begins to shift, not in a single moment, but gradually, through repeated exposure, repeated claims, repeated public appearances, and repeated reinterpretations of the same narrative. Even recent platform success, including strong chart performance for her podcast content, has not stopped the ongoing debate around credibility and consistency, and that leads directly into the final reflection. Piers Morgan, for all the controversy surrounding him, took a position years ago that many rejected at the time. He paid a professional price for it. But now, according to supporters of his viewpoint, a growing number of people are beginning to revisit those same questions independently, not because of one interview, not because of one headline, but because of a long sequence of public contradictions accumulating over time. And while the broader story is still unfolding, several key elements remain